Good morning. It's 8:15 a.m. and we are here for a legislative update with Zach Kennedy.
Well, good morning. Can you guys hear me okay?
Morning, Zach. Yep.
Wonderful. Let me see, I turn you up so I can hear you. There we go. Well, we are coming down to the end of regular business here with the 2025 session. Tomorrow is, in fact, the final cutoff, which is the last day to get bills out of the opposite house. What's been really interesting and kind of a surprise this year is that we've seen uh, a lot of bills get changed in the opposite house, and it seemed like early on they were trying to avoid that concurrence calendar, but it kind of throw caution to the wind, and here they go, and they started changing a bunch of stuff, which is not a bad deal for us. Most of the stuff that they're trying to do, we wouldn't mind to see die. So that's a good deal for us. The budgets, I wish I could tell you more on the budgets of what it's going to look like and how this is going to shake out. But if I had to guess, what I would say is if you're looking to a budget to see what it's going to be more like, I would take the Senate's budget, add in, and the revenue package, add in what the governor is saying as kind of the base with those two, and then pick and choose from the House budget to see kind of what special projects or, different interests, housing, et cetera, is going to be thrown into it. Now, that said, I would not be surprised at all if they finished the session without a budget or with only a temporary budget. So the conversations about a special session this year are now becoming, yes, we think we're going to have one. So that's where we are right now. Is there anything specific that you guys are looking at? Any questions you have right now, budget wise, transportation, anything that's going on in your guys' sphere?
Do you think that gun uh, bill is going to pass for fairgrounds? It's looking like it.
Which one specifically?
The one that will not allow weapons on fairgrounds, public parks.
Oh, yeah, 5098, I believe that one is. Um, I don't know. I would say if I had to bet on it, I would say probably not. And the reason I would say no is there's actually a pretty big fiscal note attached to that because there's a bunch of signs and, it's because it's not just fairgrounds. I mean, how the bill's written, it could be sidewalks, it could be anywhere, right?
So,
Um, and because it has money attached to it, and I think they're going, well, this isn't exactly essential. My guess would be that it may die this year. It's stuck in rules right now. So, as are pretty much all of the firearms bills that they moved, they're held up in rules in the opposite house right now.
okay, good.
So, and again, pretty much all this stuff, when the governor came out and told the budget writers, hey, no, you're not doing a wealth tax. No, you're not doing a payroll tax. No, you're not just going to put all these taxes on. You have to cut something. I think that put a big, big pinch on them, and they finally realized, okay, we can't have everything we want. So, what they're probably going to focus on is affordable housing, equitable access, things like that. And knowing full well that all of these bills, firearms, and others that die this year are going to come back next year in the same form that they died in.
Right.
So it will be, they'll give it another shot in hopes that maybe next year will be better. We'll see.
When we're talking affordable housing, do they go
Oh,
back
yeah.
and change the building requirements for insulation and electrical and all those things that cost additional money? Probably not going to change that.
Uh, no, well, they don't cost the state money.
No, I know, but they cost the home buyers money. That's the issue.
Absolutely. And that, and I mean, I can go back to what Senator Peterson said. God, I need to find that clip in his pre-session news conference. flat out, he said, "Oh, well, it turns out, based on how these referendums were voted, which by the way were worded extremely, or the initiatives extremely confusing. They took away from that, hey, the citizens of Washington don't mind paying taxes if we're spending their money in places that they want to spend it." Well, what he forgot to say is, the policies that we put in place also cost the residents of Washington money, but we were just going to ignore that. So I don't know really where I'm going with that, but all I can tell you is there's not much attention given to that conversation or those conversations at all.
Right.
Not much consideration. It's we want to push these policies through. And this has been an interesting year in that respect as well. I mean, we the counties, and not just rural counties, all counties. I mean, our Thursday night meetings with all the county lobbyists in the basement of Wasac have been really interesting this year. They've been in past years, okay, here's the bills we're looking at. This is what we're talking about. Here's what we need to address. Can we, tag team this? This year it's been, hey, does anybody have access to anyone on this committee who matters? Can anybody get into the governor's office? Can anybody have a conversation with DOH? And, kind of looking around the room like, well, I know somebody who's in there. They may talk to us. So access this year has been extremely limited, and especially from the majority side of both chambers, they're, oh, send me an email. Like they don't even want to meet with you. It's like, oh, send me an email and then, maybe we'll get back to you. Okay. It's not helpful, but sure. So it's just been different this year than it has in the past. And I think that we're seeing now with the policies they're putting through, I mean, and very clearly with their revenue packages, there's not much consideration for us little guys out here. And they took 280 million of our public works fund again.
Well, hopefully that'll change next year, maybe.
Oh man, I hope so, but my grandpa was a county commissioner from 1992 to 1996, and they said the same thing then. Sorry to rain on the parade, man.
Gee, thanks.
And fun little interesting note, I did find in my basement just a folder that had a steering committee agenda on it from, I think it was 1995 or something. And no joke, it could have been this year's steering committee meetings minus any of the computer stuff, any of the AI stuff.
Right.
Same kind of conversations around tax bills. Oh man, I hope they don't hurt us too bad this year. What are we going to do about this? REIT, I mean, everything. It was really interesting to look at that. So you're not alone. Don't worry. The legislators have been trying to do this to us at the local level for decades.
All right.
So, and obviously out in the rural areas, a big part of the conversation is the gas tax because it does impact us a lot more, I would say, disproportionately than it does the cities, although they do put some more dollars, respectively, to the rural areas. But we've got two proposals right now. One is just an increase in the fuel tax. The other is an indexed increase in the fuel tax. There's been some conversation of, why don't you guys just put a 20-cent fuel tax on and just get it over with? Stop screwing around with calculators. Stop trying to raise it every year, every session, every biennium, whatever. Just put a 20 cents tax on it and go. Say we're going to do this until we get the road usage charge in place. And I mean, it sounds bad, but right now, the road usage charge, their conversations are talking vehicles under 10,000 pounds. So you're going to just leave out most of the larger agriculture or commercial vehicles. Now, they're not going to forget about them, but at least on the initial RUC conversations, they are leaving those out. So,
Yeah, but us guys that drive 40 to 50,000 miles a year,
oh yeah.
money.
Well, and I think I'm in that category myself, right? And what I would hope is if they go to a road usage charge, number one, they got to get rid of the gas tax because, I'm not going to pay both. And I'm not going to file paperwork to try and pay both. I'll just go to Idaho, right? Um, and I mean, that's a little different over here. I can do that, and people in like Vancouver can do that, that it's tough for most of the state. But hopefully there's just a maximum, hey, you pay whatever, $150 a year or $75 a year, even $200 a year, and that's your road tax. I'd just pay the maximum if that were the case.
Right.
We'll see how it shakes out. They clearly have no idea how to do it without lots of opposition. So it'll be next year, if then.
All right.
So that's what I've got for you guys today. I can let you go about your day because if you guys don't have any other questions for me, this is a really, really dull time in session. It's going to get worse after tomorrow because most of the legislators are going home.
Right. All right. Have a great day.
Of
Thanks,
course.
Zach.
Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Go into recess until 8:30 a.m. Good morning, it's 8:30 a.m. and we are here for Commissioner Consent Agenda Review. Are there any items on consent, Kevin, that you had stand out for you?
I didn't see anything that
Tom, the Tyco bid was accurate?
Yes.
That's good news.
Yeah, it's a good price for all the work they're doing.
Yeah. They do nice work too.
I'm never worked for them or worked with them, so I'm looking forward to it.
Minutes. More minutes. Newspaper. Support letter.
I need to go talk to that guy at the Cooley Medical Center. I don't know if there's anything we can do for them.
Yeah, there wasn't much money according to Daryl.
So with this, the pig panels, if there's no bidder on those, can we do something with Roger Silva that he pays the scrap value of them?
I think so. Tom?
Yeah, I think so. I think if
Figure out the weight of them and he pays scrap price for it?
so, I think there's a way, and I haven't looked it up in a long time, but I think there is a way that if you don't surplus it, if there's in-kind work or in-kind donation or some kind of something worked out, then that's legal. You can do that. But I think, didn't Jim go ahead and put it on the surplus website?
Yeah, I believe that's what his plans were. I'm just wondering why, why can't we work with an individual who does work for us?
I think you have to be careful. I think you still have to give the public an opportunity to purchase that stuff, but whether people do or not.
So if it doesn't sell on the auction,
Yeah, we can
Then maybe-
easily do something with,
sell it to him for scrap price.
yeah. Got old pig panels that are just sitting in the boneyard, waiting to surplus. And we got a concrete contractor that would like to do his services. So how do you do that?
Oh, Cindy was asking about the two new UASs from Axon Enterprise. What are they?
Then you can move forward with figuring something out that way, once nobody wants
not number 20?
I need to get back. That's obvious.
That last week's number 20? That was last week's number. Those are drones. And they were expensive. $100,000 or something.
Let me get with the program here.
You're good.
I hope. I don't have anything in here that I saw was. Wage study.
Make name to a road, that's for the Tomer property.
Yeah, there was nothing on this week, so I was worried about.
Compensation study for $230,000.
That's a little spendy, but.
Shit bit. Pay rate chart to do it. Defense contracts.
I looked over all these Sunday, I didn't see anything.
Can't remember any.
Good morning. Okay. You just have any? All pretty much normal stuff. Nothing really stood out other than that contract. Does anybody in the room have anything on the consent agenda they'd like to discuss? Anything about your updated CRP?
We're adding a D to it, that's what we're requesting. It's about 1,300 feet long. It's connected to it. It would just be out there by itself if we don't get it done, so makes sense.
That's the one in, Conahy.
Yeah. Yep.
Cindy, did you have any consent items that you had any questions on?
I think the only one, the development services put it forward, not Public Works, approved request to assign unique name to the private road in junction Highway 28 and Highway 283 North. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Tomers. Out of Tomers Development, his industrial development,
Yeah,
just changing the name of the road. Want to do a road name.
Where's that?
I think it's like Naylor Junction Way or Industrial.
Letter number 16.
For central services.
I don't think so.
Apparently we're keeping it a secret from you, sorry.
They want to change the name to Naylor Industrial Way from, I don't think it has a name. Existing WashDOT access SR 283, milepost 14.67.
I think it was just a private road.
yeah, I don't know that, not positive that's a county right of way. You'd have to check with Barb and verify that.
So they may not have been keeping it a secret. Might not be
I
ours.
just don't know that it's ours.
Okay. Highways, but
Any other?
either. We're gonna photocopy that or do you have it?
Yeah, please.
We can do that, maybe.
I can just print it.
Show it to Barb.
Oh, okay. We'll see if Kevin's printer works today. He is kind of the print favorite. No pressure, Kevin. Sometimes it works. It has been working. One for Kevin, way to go.
Somebody was messing with my connections yesterday and had me all disconnected.
Sure.
Shows it's a private access road.
Did anybody print a short plat?
Oh, that was from yesterday, I think. That was for the Kittleson Road property.
Anything else?
No, I've circled that one, number 16, for development services, so. Well, I think I'd like to hear back from Public Works on this.
You just want to hear if it's a private or a not private road?
Well, I think I would, usually we don't change names, and,
Well, we just changed the loop road.
but I think Public Works was in the loop on that one.
Were you involved in that one? Out South Freeway? What's the name now?
Baseline .5.
But I know Sam was in the loop, so hopefully he shared that with, because it had been, okay.
So the problem with that one was, it was, because it was out on the west end of Grant County, there's a baseline .5 on the east end of Grant County. So everybody's mail kept going to the east end of Grant County. They couldn't find the one out on the west end. So they changed the name of that loop to, they just sold a piece of property out there.
It was coming down the hill from Dotson Road and Hiawatha. South
Not off
of the
road.
freeway.
We'll verify this with Barb, but I
Okay.
do not think it's our right of way. So,
Okay, but I know the other, we've been working for a few years on that other, waiting for development services to, I don't know, codify something, or it had taken a while, so Public Works had been in the loop, so.
Did the
anyway,
baseline 0.5, did that get done?
Yeah.
Okay,
just a couple weeks ago.
okay.
So this one's is showing, that's gonna have access off of 283 and then loop around over to 28. But it says right on it's a private access road.
Yeah, and it's already there, and they oiled it, I think, a year or two ago, and they've been building more of those buildings along it. They worked on the road a couple of years ago, so I think it's all private.
Yeah.
So I don't know where,
We're just establishing a name for the road, basically.
yeah, but we're not accepting it as a county road.
Correct. Yeah, we're just approving the unique name for the road is all we're doing.
That's all I have. Any question, comment?
Yeah, there's also permits from the state of Washington Department of Transportation that was included in this. I don't know if you want copies of those.
Yeah, they probably had to have approach permits approved through the DOT
It
for
looks like they were,
both sides.
looks like they were done in '83.
Yeah.
I'll
Is it-
print those.
Is that a limited, it's not a limited access highway, is it?
I don't think so. No.
I don't have anything else, Rob.
All right, Cindy, do you have anything else?
No, just frantically working on homes for our exchange students. I have some that were kind of up in the air, and some, about half of them placed, and they're coming in the end of the month, so I finally put a little pressure on and heard that I'm still looking for 4 more homes, so no anxiety there. So that's what I was about to try to wrap up this morning.
Cool. Anything for anyone in the room? No? All right, we'll go into recess till 9 a.m. and we are back for our public works update.
Because it wasn't an easement, it was actual purchase versus easement, correct, on the roundabout
I don't know what was purchased.
for that sliver?
Yeah,
All the way around?
yeah. I don't know. if
Yeah,
that was
because I
the
talked to the
DOT
one
that
property
purchased
owner
it.
that had only one of the 4. And the other 4 were the other 3 that hadn't called yet. So thank you for bringing this to me so we can
Yeah.
get statements out to the right people and fix
Yeah, they
the
may be
taxpayer on
a
this.
little late on their
They
taxes.
may not be, no,
I
no.
know.
Okay,
No problem.
try
Yeah,
lowercase g,
And all the rest of them are our normal ones. that,
19.
And everything, so that's not a problem.
yeah.
Oh,
because
they
there's
weren't.
one.
It's not lowercase.
Good. No, that was a port.
Yeah.
Okay, nope, we agree. I just can't remember how to communicate this for the statements. But well, this will be my trigger to verify, do that again.
Okay.
Good morning, it's 9:01 a.m. and we are here for a public works update.
Good morning.
Welcome.
We would like to start with item D2, the road improvement district on C Northeast. And is Zach, Zach's online there. Zach has been working on this with the folks out there, and it appears we have a checklist on our website of the process and things that need to be done. So, can you hear us, Zach?
Yes, I can hear you.
So, have you been using that checklist and working your way down?
Yes, so we have been, Dave Brennan and I have been working down that checklist, and as slow as the process is, we're just trying to work through what we can. We're aware that the process is not known to many of us, just because, as we've discussed, the last road improvement district done in Grant County was, I believe, 2002. So we have been modeling, this process has been modeled after Spokane County because they, according to Dave Brand, they have done over 600 of these road improvement districts following a very similar process.
So this was a request of the board to be put on our agenda. Is it just to discuss what we need to do next? Seems like Barb's a little unsure, just like we are, so.
I think the last one was done was Denton Road and Harrington Road, Cascade Valley. That's, take my guess. My question on this one is, if it's where I'm thinking it is, it starts from the frontage road and then goes over to May Valley Road.
It starts on Road 4 northeast and goes
Okay.
north of 4.
Okay, so it's north, okay. Okay.
Zach, this also, by signing this letter of interest, we are only expressing interest in learning more about it, hearing a presentation. All those things have been done. Do we have anything from landowners signing to proceed?
To my knowledge, there was no follow-up signatures required. That's what the hearing and resolution is for.
So one of the things Barb said was that they needed to do a trail permit before starting the RID process. Is that true? Do we know that, Zach?
What would be the trail permit for?
So I've got it right here. So it's an unimproved right-of-way currently. So the Grant County has the right-of-way, but we don't do any improvements on it. So it's just a dirt, muddy road. We don't chip seal it. We don't grade it. We don't do anything to it. And so the trail permit allows people to utilize that right-of-way without actually us doing any of the maintenance. So they're required to have minimum road standard for that road for them to be able to use it. And it's up to them to be able to do it themselves and to also maintain it themselves. And so we have a trail permit. I've got it right here online, and you can kind of see what's involved. So right now we've got it all set up to be done on smart, on the portal. I don't know.
SmartGov QA.
Ye-
Very
I'm-
different.
I'm sorry?
Is it SmartGov QA? or-
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. And so I printed off, I thought it would be online, but I think we took it off online because we wanted people to use the portal. So we have a kind of a Q&A kind of thing on what a trail permit is. And this gives you an idea how long the permit is. It's not a big permit, but it's just, the key is it's up to them to build the road. It's up to them to maintain the road. And in any time that anyone else wants to access and utilize that road, that has to be reevaluated what those minimum standards are. And so potentially they may have to upgrade the road depending on how many people want to access it. So that's kind of what this is making sure it addresses, so that it's not up to us to do, it's up to them to do. And they need to understand that they are responsible for all of that process. And I believe it's like $250, I think, for the permit, or is it 100?
It said 200.
There we go, 200, yeah. So it's not a huge fee. The real cost is for what they would have to do to actually make the road meet the standards. And the reason there is a $200 application fee is our engineer, right, we're gonna have to evaluate how many people are utilizing it, what the minimum standards need to be, make sure that the fire marshal is fine with the width. Usually it needs to be like 26 feet wide, kind of making sure that all the minimum requirements are met. So that's why we make sure that fee is gathered, even though we aren't the ones maintaining it.
How many parcels are impacted?
Looks like 9 to me.
All right. REDs are not fun for treasurers. And it's such a small one. Do we even have a rough estimate of the cost of the project?
Yes.
Yeah, here's,
Total cost, $375,232.
Just under 400,000.
All right, so the RED process requires that if it's approved, that there's a time period for the property owners to decide after the methodology of how each parcel is assessed for, those 9 parcels are assessed. Sometimes it's just purely the square footage to the road. Sometimes it has other factors. And then there's a time period after those amounts are created, a hearing process for those property owners to see if that's fine. If after that, then there's a time period for if they want to pay it all up front, and all or a portion or nothing. And then the rest of it is financed over a 10-year time period.
10 to 20, yeah.
Yeah. But this lien, if it gets behind 2 years, would be subject to foreclosure on the property. So if you have one person that doesn't pay, then it goes through a foreclosure process. But they get to be 2 years delinquent. So then the question is do you have however it's financed, either internally or having to go outside to finance this property is collateral in a way for the lien that's put on it, and that collateral is foreclosable if it's not paid, because payments need to be made each year, and trying to determine and get the financing to determine to get a flexibility of we're paying everything we have in the pot. First goes to the interest and the rest to principal. And of course, the interest rate then, whatever the outstanding principal, just like a mortgage, is keeps growing each year. It's tough to project what the payment habits of property owners are. 9 is really small for a number of parcels impacted. So there's a little risk there.
Question, if, so there's 9 parcels, but let's say 5, over 50% of them are the ones that want to move forward with this, but the other 4 are not. Are they on the hook for the?
I believe there's a 70% threshold that they have to meet before they
Is
can
it
go
70?
forward.
Yeah.
Plus, but if you have some parcels that don't want to be part of it and it's agreed to, then they also don't have access to it. So if they want
You can
access,
do that?
well, they can't have access to something they're not paying for.
Basically, they're forced into it.
Okay.
If they have to, like if you have over 70% who want it, they basically have to. And if they don't want to access it, then they have to figure out their own way, right?
Well, yeah.
Which is usually not likely to happen.
Now, is it 70% of the parcels or 70% of the actual footage of it? Because that can
Parcels.
be-
And then when you're divvying up the cost, there's lots of different ways of do it. You can do it per parcel, you can do it per linear foot. When I worked for the city of Bellingham, we usually did linear foot, because that's what made sense. If I were to build a road, I'd have to build it my frontage worth. And so that's usually what makes sense to utilize, because a parcel that has, a huge amount of acreage that doesn't front that road doesn't benefit as much as a property that fronts quite a bit of it. So usually that's kind of the method that you use to assess it. However, it doesn't mean you have to do it that way. There's different ways you can approach it, and you can get the input, and see, to try and evaluate what makes more sense in that scenario.
Now, we did a county road on the other side. On the other side, on the Gona Moses Lake, on the other side along Panorama Drive. I believe that was the 93 and 95 one. Where actually you had a long strip of land that they didn't pay. And they still wanted the project, And so then those people at the end of the road all were in, but then that person who didn't pay you had agreements of how much you have to pay to have access to the road if you wanted to develop and put in housing or stuff like that, or to have it access to other driveway or something like that. So then then you have provisions of, if you have someone coming in, then supposedly all the rest should have their payments reduced. And for the additional person that gets put on the rolls. So I don't know how tight this is and how.
So again, that's why you usually want to go with frontage, because what's gonna happen is if they subdivide, the cost will be separated again by the frontage when they do that short plat or the plat process. So that it's not so bad to figure that out, if it's linear feet. That's why you usually do it that way, because it's just really straightforward.
So if, with the potential interest costs, you may have about $45,000 per parcel, of which then you would need to look at the value of the property. Is the collateral gonna cover that amount of that payment? Or is someone just gonna walk away and just let the property go and be foreclosed on? And then can you recover that amount? Because that would be the minimum bid is outstanding plus, and a lot of times that's hard to sell if it's really that close to the value.
Generally speaking, people are willing to do road improvement districts because it allows them to then further develop their property. So most of the time, they not only have the value short-term and the access to their parcel, but they also then have more opportunity of developing it. So most of the time, the owners, that's why you see them interested in doing it, because they see the potential of what they can get and be able to do with it, versus currently, when you look at that right of way, they can't short plat. They can't build anything. They can't you develop their property. So usually there's a reason why they want to, and I don't know I know there's some parts of the county where the value of the land is not very much, where that would be an issue.
So if I may interject, so one of the things about you mentioned the short platting, they did submit interest in short platting. I know that the Lynx, who are on the not the northernmost property on the left, but the second northernmost, they are in the process, I believe, of planning for a 4-lot subdivision. And then I know that there were also other property owners along this same path that were also wanting to do the same. The other thing about this is you mentioned access and who's paying for what and what's being upgraded. The southern 2 parcels, so the ones owned by William Clark and the Sagandas, they're fronting Road 4 Northeast. That section of Road C Northeast that abuts those 2 parcels is already a county maintained road. So that's also something that we looked at too. So they wouldn't really be the upgrades would be to the entirety of Road C Northeast. However, the first fifth of a mile of that road is already a county maintained.
So there's really only 7 parcels that will get an improvement from this being done versus 9.
So that's the other thing, is that when I was talking with Dave Bren, his thoughts are, if we are going to allow improvements and if we are going to go through with the road improvement district process, we will upgrade the entirety of Road C Northeast. It won't just be the portion that was previously a private road, because the current county maintained portion is a gravel road. So you'd be going from a HMA or BST, whatever Road 4 Northeast is, to a gravel section, and then ultimately to a BST if those improvements are to take place. And so in order to kind of make everything uniform and provide just a overall better access point, the entirety of that road would be upgraded, not just the private portion.
So are those first two parcels then included in the RID, or are they excluded?
They have been excluded to this point.
Okay.
So
55,000.
my question is,
But they're getting
Segondas are gonna get a benefit from this. Why wouldn't they be involved? I mean, you're going from a gravel road to a two-part oil gravel, or two-part, I mean, like a paved road, basically. So they're still gonna get a benefit from them, so why are they excluded? Plus, you're talking like they wanna do a development out there? I
The
think
Segondas in particular, I don't know. But the thing about the Segondas, they already have frontage on Road 4 Northeast. So to upgrade Road C Northeast wouldn't necessarily benefit them unless they already have an existing access there. Which it appears that they do. However, like I said, they do have legal access off of Road 4. So to pay a bunch of money to access something that they already have access to, I mean, right there, I don't see any. It wouldn't make sense to me as that property owner.
They would just design their short plat so their lots front 4 versus C.
and not have access off on Road C.
Right, so that would be
Correct.
something, yeah,
Yeah,
that they
I
can do.
suppose.
But it looks like there's already a house or a building there. And the parcel ending 41,000 on the northwest corner. There's something there, a shed or a house.
It appears to be a hay shed or a haystack of some sort.
And because that portion is already open, they can get building permits. They are able to do some development. But at the same time, if they were to do a sharp plat that would have frontage off of that, then they would have to upgrade that road. So what Zach is saying is they really already have the benefit of frontage. So by having C Street improved along their frontage means they can change their lot configuration, but they don't actually gain any true value from it because they can just design it using the other frontage. I think is what the argument is.
Well, I can see, but there definitely is a benefit of having a paved road versus a gravel road with the
Right.
dust and the
The only
vines.
problem is how do you quantify that benefit when it's something, normally when we're looking at short plats, it's the access that matters. That's where the money is, right? And so from our point of view, that's not as big of a deal. Yeah, I agree that yes, it's better on your car, right? Better and more enjoyable to use. However, as far as developing their property, it doesn't make any difference.
No, not for development, but I think like what Cindy's saying is if you're that first house and gravel versus oiled road and they develop back farther up north and now you've gone from 5 cars a day to 30 cars a day and the dust that your house and property is going to, maybe it's worth the money to get it oiled to not have a
Yeah,
dust storm 30 times a day.
I would certainly prefer it.
Yeah.
Same with the one on 4106 C Road, Clark's. I mean, I would think they would want that paved instead of gravel.
Does their access to this road get taken away?
You know, it looks like they do have, I can't really see.
Well,
So they can still be out and still completely have access to this improvement without compensation.
Yeah, because how can you technically take away somebody's right to go down their easement road if somebody else develops it? You can't do that.
Correct.
It's not
But
legal.
if it's county right of way, they don't have legal access unless we approve legal access to their property. You don't just get access to your property off of county right of way because you want it. It has to be approved to have that access.
So all these.
If it's their property and it's not county right of way, yeah, but it's not if it's county right of way. It's not you don't have legal access to your property just because you have that property without a permit, without us approving a permit for an approach or whatever.
Basically, you have
Okay,
to
but
get their
all
approach
these-
permit that would then clarify where you can have that approach
Yeah.
versus right on the intersection. When we do short class, we now have an area where we actually have them hatch out where they can't have any approaches because of that conflict.
Well, it appears you've already got houses on this road, so they've obviously gotten approach permits or access from somewhere to get to these parcels.
It's not,
So,
With
It's a
1,000,
county-
it's a primitive.
It's a county road
it
up
is primitive.
to the, just that first parcel section is a county road. It is county right of way. That's why they don't get any improvement except for use from an upgraded road. As far as access, they don't get any improvement. So yes, it's a benefit to them because less dust, less a lot of environmental issues. But as far as actually accessing their property, it's not an improvement to them. That's why the engineer and Zach were excluding them to begin with. And again, how do you clarify? Yes, they do get some of that benefit, but to put a price tag on it is very difficult to try and assess.
Yeah, it's trying to be fair and
Yeah.
So does all 7 parcels have houses on, or improvements?
It does not appear so.
looks like there's two
2 parcels that are vacant?
possible that don't. Without driving out there, I can't tell. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, right now,
probably
the
just-
maps are so far behind.
Right.
Have you guys put pressure to get updated maps on? Yeah, we got maps that don't even have a roundabout. That Quincy, that shows how old our maps are. And we need updated maps. Not sure why it's not happening.
That's a different department.
software upgrade.
And then you bill those first 2, you just bill them for the cost of, yeah. It's hard to include them. How do you do it? And then again, with the property being on lien on this loan, they're not involved because the other parcels are going to be basically paying the whole cost, but these 2 are getting benefit from it. So
Right.
how do you lien their property? Because that cost would go to everybody else, so these prices would be a lien, including their frontage. So, and this, I don't know if this is Zach's, but it only has 5 parcels on it, or 5 properties versus 7.
So interesting. I didn't look at it carefully.
Yeah, the lower the number of parcels participating, the harder it is to get outside financing. So then who's gonna finance this?
Well, part of the process that Spokane County does is the county is actually part of that process, and we sell bonds apparently to help in that process. So I haven't been part of that, so I don't know the details, but I know if you look at, let's see if I can, on the checklist, there's a part, not as good without a mouse, sorry. See if we can get to the part. We'll see, it's a really involved process. Public sales, so. Here,
Was this a road that we were gonna do, you guys are gonna do, Public Works is gonna do, it's gonna be hired out, and be done by somebody else?
For the RID, I don't know that we've gotten to that point of figuring, I'm sure it would have been something we did.
yeah, so,
The cost was based on us doing it, not a contractor.
so you can see part of the checklist, it talks about deliver bonds no earlier than 20 days after the conclusion of prepayment period. County road fund is reimbursed from the bond sale for public funds that were used to finance the assessment portion of the RID costs. So the county is involved in part of that financing.
And the dollar amount's so low that it could probably be a higher interest rate. Especially with the risk of the collateral for some parcels.
So I guess my question is who's pushing to do this? The 5 landowners? Have they, I mean,
Well, we have is it letter of interest?
We have this with signatures, so they have gone through the process of trying to get the people involved to sign on to it, to get proof that they have 70% interested in it. However, there's way more signatures than parcels, so I'm not sure but I wasn't part of that process.
The link,
I mean, I think if we can get the other two on board that are gonna get the benefit of not having a gravel road, maybe that lessens the blow and they could all figure out a way to put the money together and not have to do a road improvement district. That's what we had to do. We had to pay it all up front, and then the county came in and did the oil and gravel.
and that wasn't a cost share, it was actually an RID?
No, I believe it's a cost share.
Okay, so we no longer do
Little
cost share.
different.
Wow.
So you don't do cost sharing anymore?
No. Sam,
Okay,
when
yeah,
you
the
were
first thing is it was even, cost, if you have cost sharing, is it worthy of your network to cost share in the first place? So this is not a high road, high traffic impact.
And another thing that is an option in the future are latecomer agreements. So basically, someone can build a road and then assess the portion of each parcel and then get paid at a later date where it doesn't have to be paid, but then, that same period is when they want to get a building permit, when they want to actually do something with that property. And that is a process that we can do. It's just a different approach of how to do the same thing.
Yeah, the latecomers agreement on that Anahuac Drive was for the 12 years, I believe. And then after that, they can benefit it, and they can use it without any compensating the other property owners who paid for it.
That's a bar we have.
So public latecomers they don't go away. Private latecomers have an expiration date, basically. So, and you can assess interest rate on those also. So, like if the county, we do already have policy for the county to have latecomers. If the county were to do it, we can do it. With latecomers, it's already established, ordinance has already been done, and we'd have to play with the interest rates and what would make sense. I don't think it's been in the county's interest to do that. That's why it hasn't been done for a long time. Usually it's private people who really wanted to utilize it. So like the parcel at the very end of the road would build the entire road, and then they would assess each parcel what they would their fair share, right, of that cost. But it is exactly what you were saying, Daryl, is that it does go away. So if you wait out the 12 years, you get all the benefit with no cost. The thing, depending on where it's located, depends on what is the likelihood of it being developed in 12 years or not. And so the more rural, the less likely, closer it is to a city, the more likely. And so that is the developer's choice to take that into consideration. What is the probability of me getting my money back? And the nice thing about a private latecomer is that's their responsibility. They're taking the risk. We aren't.
You're actually a minute over. Is there anything else? Sorry, this is just a lot of information, so thank you for taking the time.
It would, definitely be less risky if you had every property owner paying a certain balance, minimum balance, of which then the remaining balance is a better collateral risk for the financing. But I don't think you can force that.
Yes, you can't force it. You don't, like I said, you don't have the policy in place for a private latecomer.
A lot to think about.
You guys have any questions on the D northeast off of 7.8?
No, that's the one that's needed done a long time, right?
Yeah, that one's.
And like, there's a map farther back, it shows you kind of where it attaches, and like I say, it's 0.2 of a mile to add to the CRP. And I think they're starting on the 7.8 already, so.
If
we
they're
can move
there,
right
they might as
into-
well finish it.
Yeah.
No sense in having them go back.
Yeah.
Let's-
Okay.
No sense in the gravel maintenance. For one little strip.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
for enlightening us on that.
We will go into recess until 9:33 when we're back with the sheriff's office. Good morning. It is 9:34 a.m. and we are here with the sheriff's office for an update. Hello, gentlemen.
Morning. Good morning all.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys doing?
Good. Fantastic.
Fantastic.
It's been a great morning, yeah. Maybe for us, maybe not for everybody, but how are y'all doing?
Great.
Great, but
Yeah.
any exciting news, or you're just been a great day?
It's just a great day to be here to
The weather's great.
to serve you guys. And the weather's beautiful outside.
It is,
That's scary. What's wrong?
and we're in here, the weather's fabulous out there.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah. So honestly, we didn't really have a whole lot to discuss. The sheriff got an email yesterday referencing the work release. We wanted to get that on our agenda to be able to talk about today. So I guess for anything, you guys have any questions about the work release or?
No, we're just looking at our options for it, planning whether we're gonna sell it or not. And just, we don't wanna sell it and then find out that you guys need it for something else in a year and a half.
Sure.
Or you need another building not at the jail site. So just kind of trying to cross the T's before we keep thinking forward.
Me personally, if you're looking for input on what to do with that building, I know that we have the SIM mapping coming up very soon to be able to identify where our gaps are in Grant County. The behavioral health is going to be the largest gap that we're going to identify, whether it be crisis housing, detox beds, crisis response teams. I think the work release building would fit right into that gaping wound that we have in Grant County. It's a secure place. It's any freight, everybody knows where it's at. We have a bus stop right out front of it. So the infrastructure is already set up. We have that opiate funding that everything's going out for RFP right now through, I think it's Carolyn, I believe it is. To me, I think having something behavioral health wise up at that facility just makes perfect sense. But that's just my input. So, and we could potentially have the funding to be able to support that. And the opiate funding, they're estimating that's going to be around for like the next 20 years, if I'm not mistaken.
We keep getting additional funds, so that's been nice.
So let me just bring this up because in Moses Lake and yesterday in my meeting, it's all about kind of this. But the concern that you hear is in Moses Lake at least, is always, the more services, the more issue there. So if you were to put this up on the hill and take people from outside the county, would recreate an issue in Ephrata?
It's a double-edged sword. I think the intent behind any behavioral services would be able to not just dump somebody that we know that has a SUD problem, substance abuse disorder issue, mentally issue, not just to kick them out on the front street or the front yard, on the streets, just say, hey, good luck. It's to have a well-established program to be able to get them that warm handoff to be suitable for that reentry, to get back into the public. Have the services there to be able to really set them up for success. That's why we put the bus stop up at the work release, because one of the biggest issues we have for people failing is a lack of transportation. We can set up medical appointments for them, but how are they going to get to their medical appointment if they have no means of transportation? So it is being able to make sure that they're set up for success to reduce that ability to be more of a nuisance in the community. And again, it's a double-edged sword because you can't treat everybody. You're not going to have a win-win. There's going to be some that fall through the gaps. But to have a successful program, you really have to set the people up for success before that reentry portion.
Well, and I don't believe everybody that would be qualified to go through the deferral process. So it'd be a deferral. And the group, they know that we have this facility here, but they're concerned that we won't have the staff to man it. And so that's why they're looking at something in Chelan or Douglas.
Well, my question is, once this jail is empty, would that be a suitable facility for
I
them?
don't think it's big enough.
So you really want a behavioral health, and and Dale Anderson would be more of the subject matter expert on this. You want it to be a very light atmosphere. You want it to have light colored walls. You want to have as much natural daylight as you can in there. I know the work release doesn't have all of that. It has a little bit of the natural daylight coming in, but you want it to be more of a soft atmosphere. That jail is nothing but soft. You experienced it. It's pretty rough around the edges.
I agree.
Pretty rough around the edges. So I don't know if it would suit the need and be as successful as somewhere else would be. But 'cause it's pretty enclosed.
Yeah.
You don't want them to feel like they're incarcerated, basically. You don't want them to feel like
Kind of
they're in
the
jail.
halfway,
sense.
the diversion.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
then not everybody's gonna be able to go through it, but
No.
we're more worried about the staff.
So if we were to use that building up there, do you think that would require a bunch of remodeling in order to get it to the point where it needs to be for that purpose?
I'm gonna say yes, but to what extent, I don't know. We just got an email in late last week from the state behavioral health. They're opening up some of their facilities for us to tour them. We invited them to tour all the county jails last year, and they just want to reciprocate that and say, hey, our facilities is now open for you guys to come in and see what the state level is doing for behavioral health and looking at the soft environments and seeing what that actually looks like. You know, you talk to Dale Anderson again, he talks about the soft environment. Like, you know, you got a room full of recliners.
Yeah, on that 24-hour, which
Yeah.
that would be,
So, you know, if we can kind of get more of that exposure to what something actually looks like, you think that would get us going in the right direction.
and we just currently have nothing here.
Right.
So everything is transported in hospital room or incarceration.
And even our local hospitals, they're overwhelmed. We had an individual yesterday, we're trying to get into the hospital that had been booked in several hours prior, and they're on divert, or you're waiting in the waiting room for 3 hours. You know, the resources in Grant County, that's where you get into Moses Lake, where they're really building a lot of resources, so everybody goes to Moses Lake and then dumps them in Moses Lake. Then they feel like they're the dumping ground
But
now.
it could be, yeah, the hospital.
I was gonna say, really, the
I don't think they
hospital would
have,
be a good spot.
the regional diversion. I don't think they have anything in mind right now, so I don't know if it's finding an old building and trying to rehab it or, but I know, I mean, this would be a
That-
perfect fit, but
Samaritan Hospital, when their new hospital gets done,
Yeah.
the right people get their hands on it, that might
and that would
be.
have to be a state and federal project for that to happen, but
Yeah.
contract, or at least start with the project and contract out, but
It's close to Dell's building. It's not already built up like our correctional facilities that we have, whether it's the work release or the old jail.
Right.
It's built and it'd probably be easier suited for renovation to bring in some people so it doesn't feel like they're enclosed.
and we're centrally located. And I think there's gonna be some that probably need a little bit of a lockdown and others that, I don't wanna call it free range, but,
Yeah.
you know. so-
And you know, and quite honestly, sometimes it's good, and not that we like to push our people out to Wenatchee or Spokane, but sometimes it's in their best interest to get the heck out of their hood.
Right.
To get out from walking distance to their dealer. You know, sometimes that's good for them. But no, I appreciate the conversation. Appreciate you guys listening to our feedback. But you know, I think that building has a lot of potential. You know, maybe we wait to after the sim mapping.
And then kind of see what they come up with.
Yeah.
Because that's a kind of a neutral.
When's
overview.
that sim mapping?
Ooh, I know I just
Because
got
it's
that
in
email
May.
last week, I
May.
believe. Is it this month? Is it next
I'm
month?
not sure, because I'm not a part of the sim map. We're just paying the bill.
Oh, thank you. You paying for lunch too?
Yeah. I know.
I'll bring the snack.
It's sim mapping. I just didn't know that's what it called. So when Barbara asked me about the sim mapping, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. in the sim mapping, but-
Sequential
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
Sequential intercept.
Intercept, that's what it is.
But an overview, kind of part 2 of part 1 that they did.
Oh, we did the part 1 over in Moses.
Yeah. they did one of
So
those.
it's been good moving forward. And Overbay has been incredible running this
Yeah,
little adventure of his.
I-
Good.
I don't know how he does it. I can't even keep up with him.
Got a lot
Who's
going
that?
on.
Overbeing.
Commissioner Overbay, he was
Oh.
state patrol, former state patrol, and I think he's just seen the need on the street and in the jail, and
Mhm.
she says there are different perspectives in most county commissioners, so he's seen a need and he's taken off with it.
Goodness. Any other questions about the work release?
Nope.
Yep, thanks for the solid answer.
Oh, yeah, anytime.
Barb asked Joey about via email late yesterday about to be prepared to talk about work release, and Joey didn't have any idea what your guys' questions was, so Philip.
The city of Ephrata would like it, so.
Oh.
The city of Ephrata would like it, so that's where we're kind of, do we want to?
Would like to buy it.
I think more in, I don't know if this is an answer in here or not, but is it more for the property or the actual building itself?
Building.
They want to move their police department up there
Oh.
and then use the storage buildings for their pump truck and other public works. We're just trying to figure out what to do.
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
The only really other thing that, I guess a couple things maybe in the jail, we got 15 more minutes. We have our new video court system being installed inside of our current jail to be able to try to get staff to know what this new system looks like, what it feels like, to try to work out any bugs. We're trying to get things installed and kind of at least into our daily activities. So the less things that we have to learn at the new jail is the better, because we're all going to be in the shock and awe for quite some time once we move up there. So I'm pretty excited to see that coming up. There was a recent ruling from the FCC regarding inmate telephones and the amount that agencies can charge an inmate. Before this ruling, it was a very competitive market for the phone companies to be able to negotiate with the counties, because we make a significant amount of, well, I can't say significant, we make money off of inmate phone calls, commissaries, text messages, videos. Well, a lot of agencies were charging a ton of money, which really kind of started drawing a red flag everywhere. So the FCC came in and is putting a cap on the amount that we're going to be able to charge for phone calls, text messages, and video chatting. It's going to be set up in what your population size is for the jail population. It's going to be dependent on the cap, but I reached out to our provider yesterday, HomeWave. I'm going to be getting in a conversation with them because they're going to have to renegotiate a contract. So that's going to put a pretty good hit on our concessions account for our revenue. We went to tablets a couple of years ago and text messaging to be able to have a bit of an increase in the concessions fund. And this is going to start, you're going to start seeing that thing drop. So I guess more of anything, just kind of an information sharing. Is it okay to talk about a PMRT, something that's going to be in front of the panel here soon? Okay. So.
I think so. I'm going to say yes. Is it?
Yeah, it's their meeting.
Yeah, just to kind of, it's more of an intro. Working with the sheriff for the last probably year in trying to make sure that it's the right timing, right fit. We're going to reintroduce a K9 program into the jail, where we're going to be seeking a K9 drug seeking dog handler and a dog. They recently moved the academy from Shelton over on the west side to Airway Heights, which is going to be less of a drive for our handler, but that position's got to go to PMRT. But if you guys have any questions or anything about the K9 program, or what the intent is, or what the thought process is behind it, I'll be happy to answer them now. If not, I'll see you at the PMRT.
So we'll need an additional K9.
Yep. Once we get accepted into the academy at Airway Heights, they have a they have a lot of dogs over there be available. So they just match the dog to the handler. That's one of the critical elements to be able to have a successful program is to have a good handler matched with a good dog.
So with these dogs, are they still large and aggressive, or could they be of a smaller nature?
They could be a smaller nature.
They
The
could
only
be a
thing
lap dog?
they
Probably not a lap dog. It's probably, what you would probably see is more shelter type dogs.
yeah.
Okay.
The state patrol, when they would get their dogs over in Shelton, they would go to the shelters and test out the dogs to see which ones were of the quality that, then when you know what you're looking for, you know what you're looking for. And then you may take 20 of them and 3 of them might work. But I would imagine that that's what Airway Heights is doing, the same thing.
Yep. Now the dogs, they're also being tested for fentanyl as well. So you'll have a drug dog that will do marijuana, cocaine, meth.
And they can sense the marijuana. I mean, well, that's pretty easy to smell. The cocaine must have an odor then,
Yeah.
and fentanyl.
And fentanyl, yep.
Sorry, I know, we drive by some of those facilities, we can all smell.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't take a dog.
That's, marijuana is the last scent that they put the dog on before they get certified because it's so easy to find it.
Yeah, a lot of agencies, they're not doing marijuana anymore, just due to the fact that it's legal. No, they're being inside of a jail. The primary duty is going to be inside of a jail. That's still illegal to possess marijuana inside of a jail or a prison. But we also want to be engaged with our community as well. I'd love to resource it out to Ephrata School District to be able to run their lockers, utilize it with our INET detectives. If they get a search warrant for a vehicle for narcotics, we can use it for that. So it's not 100% inside the jail. Probably 95% of it'll be in the jail, but we'll actually do the community engagement. We'll do demonstrations for the community at the fairgrounds or wherever. But it's just another way to be able to get the corrections profession more out into the public and know what the heck that we do. So. I've been doing all the talking.
You're doing a fine job too there, Chuck.
But that's what we brought you along for,
I'm
right?
excited to see what the next little dog is.
Yeah, no kidding. No. That's really all I have. I had to go back in my notes to find all that.
Yeah, Joey couldn't be here today. He had another engagement he had to take care of, but he had nothing that he wanted to pass on. He primarily wanted to just have us come over here to see if you guys had any questions with anything going on with the sheriff's office. And then, of course, towards the end of the day, Barb had mentioned the work release. So,
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing.
yeah.
Like a little direction on that, so we don't do something that.
Yeah. I think Chuck has a great idea about, once we find out where that Sims.
And that's coming up within the next month.
Yeah, it's gonna be quick.
Is it this month or next month? I keep thinking like May, and I'm like, no.
I get so many calendar invites for days and a couple of things that I just remembered. Chief for a date's coming up in June 12th. I know I sent Barb the date. One of the biggest changes that you're gonna see this year is that it's actually gonna start at 10:30 on the front of the courthouse.
Okay.
So, hopefully you guys have done a phenomenal job in the past doing your resolution and everything for them. And I'm continuing to work to put together an RFP for medical services inside the jail.
Thursday.
Unless y'all have questions, I'm gonna give you 7 days per 7 minutes.
7 days.
Back to your day.
I'll take 7 days.
7
7
minutes
days
back
off.
to your day, Rob.
7 minutes back to your day.
Any other questions?
No,
Thanks for the info.
You bet.
Absolutely.
We're going to recess until 10 a.m. and we're back for facilities maintenance. Good morning, it's 10 a.m. and we're here for a facilities and maintenance update.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'll start it off. So facilities, this weekend at the fairgrounds, the Ardell fire alarm system went into alarm. We need to find a way to reduce the nuisance calls on that system. And I think we have to figure out, I'm gonna talk to Pat about adjusting the time on pumps 4 and 5, because when that fire alarm goes off, those 2 pumps kick in. And it caused the hardwood to fill because it was overpressure. So I think if we drop the timing on those pumps from like 60 seconds to maybe 30, maybe it won't push the system to 150 PSI and cause a flapper valve to fly open.
Those are soft starts. I think we can adjust the ramp up time on those two.
Yeah.
And that would soften that.
Yeah. So, but so Chris was in a couple of times. And then when he reset the system this morning, after it was all drained and everything, as soon as he bumped the air valve, which kind of monitors the pressure, for some reason, it tripped it and it started to fill up again, and he was able to stop it. So there's a faulty part somewhere in that system, and he's talking to McKinstry to try and get it properly diagnosed. And you know, we don't have these issues anywhere else, but at the Ardell, this fire alarm system seems to be very, very finicky. And so we just need to get to the bottom of it.
One of the things we got going on with that is changing that smoke head out to a heat.
Yeah.
And that's Camtech is still trying to source that for us, so we should bump them because that's a big one that hits us quite often.
Yeah, there's a smoke head in an area where when they sweep, the dust hits, there's enough dust generated that the smoke head thinks there's a fire, and it's activated that a couple of times. And
That makes sense.
even Jim has asked his staff numerous times, you know, put down green sweep or something, right? Keep the dust down, but it doesn't, it's just, again, finicky. And so, yeah.
We got that approved through the fire marshal that we can do that, so.
Yeah.
Good deal.
And with that, I'll let Kevin take over.
So just a couple things that we're working on this week. So the asphalt repave project for Wheeler Road, the contract will go out today for them to sign. So we'll keep that project moving forward. Then we'll have to work with District Court and WSU on how we do that. Since it's the entire parking lot, we'll have to figure out how we can split it in half or make it work so that they can still have court and still have access to WSU. The request for qualifications for our on-call architectural and engineering RFQ has been sent out, so we should have all submittals back by April 29th, and then we can grade those out and then develop our on-call roster so we can have select from those for projects that we have upcoming that we need support with. And a couple of those projects that I see coming down the road will be like there's a remodel that Public Works is looking for at the landfill where there's some work on a mezzanine where we close it in for a break room and move a stairway. What are those loading on that if we change things around? And then also that will help with the renew project as well and get that lobby remodel done for them. The internal posting for Public Works site supervisor closed Friday afternoon. We have a candidate and we'll be working on getting the interview scheduled. The position is vacated as of yesterday afternoon. In the meantime, until we get that position filled, and it may be for longer, we'll see how things work out. We have the Public Works staff coming down here, the other maintenance person coming down here and meeting with us in the morning so that he's got support and we can help. There's also some networking opportunities in there. Like this morning, they had a leak up at Public Works on the irrigation system. He goes, well, I got to go to Home Depot. I said, I got 2 guys in Moses Lake right now, and they are going to Home Depot. So here's their number. Give them a call, and you can save a trip. So we'll work on those networking type things where we can get people as they move through the county, and we need to pick things up that we can save trips and fuel and time. Chiller for the Law and Justice Building will start up next Wednesday. So I know today will be a little bit warm, but then the temperatures dip again. So you might hear a little bit about it getting warm over in that building, but it'll be fine again by tomorrow. And next week we'll have that system back online and ready to go. Typically it's right about this time of the year we start it up. You get a hot day here and there, but for the most part the building stays pretty comfortable. But that's the plan for that. Public Works will also check that one up and make sure it's we do a fall and spring service on these just to make sure we don't have leaks or, when they start them up, it hasn't lost refrigerant, things of that nature. So that they'll check that one over as well next Wednesday, make sure it's ready to roll. Renew, that has a new chiller on it that Basin put in this basically about a month ago. So that's not on the contract for this year, but next year, most likely that will be added to the contract for starting those up. Public Works and I, we have a meeting tomorrow with the contractors that service and supply the fuel pumps for us. So we're going to get some more information on that and figure out our path forward on what, if we're going to replace pumps, what that looks like. And if we need service, what is the time frame for getting a technician down here to help us. The feedback that we're getting is that typically within a day, we can have a technician here to help us get back up online. So that doesn't seem too bad. You just got to call their service center and make sure you make them understand that it's a priority 1 call. So like if we lose the pumps up here in Ephrata or Moses Lake, because they're so critical to, the amount of people that use them, we need to get them here in as quick as possible, not a week later, 2 weeks later. It needs to happen within the next day if we can. And the salesman said that's totally doable. So we're going to work with them on that, make sure it's realistic. And then we want to understand better the PM programs on these things. What does it take for time? Are our systems in that bad a shape? Maybe, we had Brian go through and clean them all up and get them all PM'd last month. So it should carry through, I don't know. I guess that's the question we want to ask them, right? So what does it take to keep these things reliable and keep them running?
Yeah, they can just put them on a schedule.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and Brian's gone now, correct?
Yes,
So-
that was yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, so that, you're aware of that. So Brian Murray's access should be null and void now, so.
You got a help desk ticket on it, so.
Somebody's gotta help this.
Yeah.
And I assume it's being handled.
Yeah. And then also I had asked about him having access to his file share so he could, so hopefully that you got that and email forwarding. So, yeah.
We'll make sure it gets done. With the fuels system up at Public Works.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Somebody had that when I heard it being discussed.
Tomorrow you probably won't see a whole bunch of maintenance guys running around for a few hours. We have locksmith training up at work release. So we'll send about 10 guys up there. It's part of the project with the jail for training. So we're going to take advantage of it and send as many people as we can since it's for free.
Right.
And so provided by the supplier. So we'll be out about 3 hours getting guys trained on that. Other things going on, working with the museum with tree trimming, ADA access for sidewalks, and their sign yet. So I went up there and tried to find the pins for the corners. I was unable to find them, so I reached out to a surveyor to come down there and locate the pins for us. They don't have to do the recording or anything, just find us the pins. I think that's where we're at with it.
Did we ever come to a conclusion with Dave Dormeyer and that church about the property? I saw the letter that got sent from the museum's board.
Yeah.
Was a decision ever made? Did we ever move forward on that?
No.
So,
And then we did receive that yesterday.
yeah.
And some of the feedback I'm hearing is that they don't seem to fill the church up as much lately, so I don't know if they're still actively pursuing it or where they're at.
Haven't heard a lot about it. So,
Another thing that came up this morning and be writing a letter to surplus the equipment at work release. So all like the washers, dryers, any of that equipment that isn't really, I guess it would stay with the building. So you'll be seeing that come next year. It'll be pretty big list, and we'll put it out on government surplus. So it's a public auction and see what we can get rid of. I'll work with the sheriff also to make sure there isn't anything in there that they want to keep. But in the initial walkthrough, we did about a month ago. They didn't really point anything out that was significant that they wanted, so.
What? Why do we have a little dog in here?
How old is it, that equipment?
Because people are people.
Some of it's newer and some of it's older, right? So the building's 20 years old. Washers and dryers are probably under 5 years old.
Yeah.
Well, they actually got put in. Okay, this is how old we're getting. Pre-COVID, just before COVID, and they've been sitting there basically. And so
But one thing I would caution, I guess, all of the stuff that we have loose in there all needs to be figured out. Washers and those giant washers and dryers. I would ask the potential buyer if they want to keep that stuff. Instead of starting to
like,
gut
maybe
the
not
building.
sell it right away.
Yeah.
We have a Sims, I don't know, the Regional Behavior Health Diversion Program. They're kind of doing a Sims mapping and in the next month. So that was one of the facilities they were looking at, so.
Is Dell aware of this?
Yes, well, but they really want to keep it up in Wenatchee. So we asked the sheriff today about getting rid of work release. So he said, why don't you give it a little bit of time until after the Sims mapping discussion? You ready to keep moving? That was just a thought. I don't, what?
Well, I thought we had a path forward, and then, because I spoke with Dell on Friday. And we talked about work release, and he didn't say anything about that possibly.
Well, it's not his program, so it's kind of a regional, but I think it would be 3 to 5% if they were to look over here, because they really, really want to keep it up in the Chelan Douglas area.
If they did look over here, would they be purchasing that building from us, or is this a bill we would have to maintain?
No, they would be purchasing it because we would have to either come up with money from the state, or each county would be paying for
So if
something.
it ended up being a behavioral health or a detox center or
It
whatever.
wouldn't really be, it's just a kind of a portion of the jail. Instead of going into the criminal justice system, they would be going through a diversion program, and that would be catching. So it would have to go through the legal system, through corrections.
So again, would remain to be seen if, a lot of that stuff, a lot of the stuff in there can be surplus, but some of those things we may think about before putting them on a list, like the washer and the dryer, so just food for thought.
Are we getting close
Uh,
But we have,
Close as
Yard and the network equipment out. I just need to know how quick I need to get in there.
I'll tell you what, we're within half the width of a pumpkin. How's that?
I think we're close. I think the.
Well, this all takes time, so.
As long as it sounds like purple, we're fine.
30 days.
Sorry, anyway.
I don't think anything's
That's
gonna
it.
happen in 30 days around here.
No.
No, it happens slow until it gets to the
All of a
point,
sudden,
get it
like,
out.
we already
Yeah.
did something.
Yeah,
Now let's go, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to be a little proactive in front of it.
right. Exactly. Any questions for facilities? Any questions for?
Nothing coming to mind.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, then we can take a 30-second recess until 10:15. Good morning, it's 10:15 a.m. and we are here with GCTS for a update.
All right. Well, once again, good morning, commissioners. So we're working on a concept for I'm going to call it a digital judicial platform. I don't know. We got to come up with a name for it. This is a platform that would allow inmates to interact real time with the judges, for the judges to receive signed documents from the inmates in real time without standing physically in the courtroom. We tried out a mock installation at the jail, and everybody was happy with it. We did not have a date or a timeline, but all of a sudden somebody called Joe and said, hey, this thing's supposed to get installed, and we didn't know that. So,
Two separate things.
okay, well, we'll work on that. But then also this morning, it's kind of funny. One of the things we talked about at the county administrator conference was Zoom sessions getting hacked by porn. Clallam County had some really good stories to tell. Benton County had some really good stories to tell. And as of this morning, Grant County has some good stories to tell.
Really?
Yeah. So Superior Court's been pouring bombed multiple times this morning already. And so the prosecutor contacted us, was like, hey, can we stop this? And I'm like, well, yes and no. They had their first incident, and then they like, oh, okay, that was funny, and then they carried on, and then they got hit again. Basically, the court should be in control of the session and ultimately has control over what participants are capable of doing, sharing video, sharing audio. So it's really kind of up to them. Now, they do not run their sessions like y'all do for the BOCC, and that might be part of the reason why. And they might have to decide to finally change their ways, because we've encouraged them to be more in control of their courtrooms in this regard. So
Make people panelists, otherwise they can't share. So,
right.
Yeah, if somebody bomb me, I'd just shut it down.
Right. They've taken a much more open stance to how they run their stuff. So, hey, Washington State decided that we needed video courts, so this is the result.
And now they're getting bombed in a different way.
Yep. So that's the porn bombing update. Kind of to what Tom was talking about, we do actually have a real-time solution for doing paperwork for video arraignment. That's been functional for years now. The thing that I think Tom might be more directly speaking of was we were wanting to test out one of the new audio video Polycom units, the one that we're going to be putting up at the new jail. And we didn't realize that they were just all fired and ready to do it. Like there was some hardware that was installed, but not the guts of the thing. So
And my issue there is when you talk to the judges about the video arraignment, they say that won't work for what they're talking about. That's the disconnect. We have a real-time solution, and they're saying that that doesn't work.
So we've been able to do documents through the scan snaps for at least the last 10 years.
Yeah,
At least.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So they've been able to, excuse me, move documents back and forth between the courtroom and the jail and have people sign stuff in real time. And I don't understand where the disconnect is.
Neither do I. And even after speaking with Judge Hill, he is the one that told me that video arraignment system wouldn't work for.
Well, so district court does it, I think, differently than the way Superior Court does it.
This is Superior Court Judge Hill.
Okay, so
Okay.
they don't have scan snaps in Superior Court. That's probably the missing link.
Okay.
So district court's been doing this for a decade.
Yeah.
So,
So district court has not made one peep about anything we're doing up at the jail. Superior Court has been having issues because they want their new courtroom attached to
So
the
maybe
jail.
you can just show them how it really works.
right. And so we have kind of run into a problem. The scan snaps are getting outdated. We're trying to come up with a way to do it digitally within Laserfish and then have them do digital signatures and get like one of those Topaz pads that they can sign with, or maybe even do it through an iPad, use your finger to sign or something. So Keith's been trying to figure out a way to do it digitally so that we don't have to rely on the scan snap hardware moving forward, because they're becoming deprecated. So we're kind of holding on to the ones we got for dear life until they finally die. But we don't foresee this as being an insurmountable issue. It depends on what the court decides is legally acceptable for signature. We question whether or not scanning it and sending it back and forth was good. They're like, no, it's good enough. Okay, then would digital be good enough? We would expect that the answer would be yes, but we don't know until a judge tells us. So,
H&R Block's got a great little tablet.
right.
Works awesome.
The federal government allows us to pay our taxes, so I don't know why. Washington State just has weird rules, and then we just suffer at the behest of the Washington State Supreme Court. So we'll find out. But I don't foresee this being a huge issue. There was another thing for the jail that they have this reassurance solution prisoner wellness vital sensors. So recently we had an inmate who perished in the jail, and so they have become very proactive in trying to acquire a system that you put a person in a room and these devices will measure a human's breathing, heart rate, all those kinds of things. We had just been talking to them about, hey, that sounds like a really cool idea. And then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, we need you to fill out these documents because they're going to come install it. And we were like, Oh, wait, what?
Well, no, it had been approved. We had approved it
Right,
some time ago for the booking cells and infirmary cells.
right,
And that was it. But it was never put on a specific timeline
right.
until all of a sudden, kind of like the other thing.
Yeah, like last week, they
So-
were just like, by the way, you guys got this stuff done. We're like, we were talking about it. We didn't know that there was a timeline yet. So we're trying to get caught up with them I mean, we're not trying to be
No.
obstructionists here. We just didn't realize that they were so far
Well,
into
and
it.
I'm meeting with Phil Coach today to talk about some of this communication
Okay,
breakdown. So,
perfect.
Yeah, and I thought it was just in a couple areas, like.
It is
Yeah,
just in a couple
It's not,
areas.
it's
Yeah,
not
it's
the
not-
jail as a whole. It's very specified locations.
The
Yeah,
infirmary cells, where, you have people that are, probably should
definitely.
be.
Yeah,
And in the booking cells, when, again, you have people come in that are either on drugs or really drunk or whatever, and you need to monitor them, so. They're RFID sensors, so there's no wearable.
Yeah.
And then we did also find out, we talked about these at the conference, and they had the competing risk pool there that said that they were paying for those. They said, oh yeah, we're paying jails to put those in. So then we found out how much they were paying, and they were just paying up to $1,000. Well, that's not gonna buy
much. Yeah.
much, so, yeah.
GCTS is back out at the fairgrounds. Ricky's out there with the assistance of Luke. They're continuing the installation of camera equipment. They're focusing more on the south field now. We're going to continue to make network changes across the fairgrounds to consolidate camera stuff. We've got our first Ubiquity UNVR unit deployed at the fairgrounds. We're getting people added to it so that they can access it. Ultimately, this is to help reduce the county's primary internet VLAN traffic so that we get more bandwidth back. We deployed one of these UNVR units up at Youth Services as well. We've got Suhail and Scott added to it so that they can access it, and we'll probably end up getting a few more people for up there. Wanted to talk about Josh real quick. We got the email that everything was good to go, that we could, utilize them. So I spoke with them about it, and we're right now running him through his CGIS certification and getting his III done, which is your fingerprint and FBI background check, because that's what you have to do to work in TS. Things that he will be doing and that we've talked with him about, building computers in the lab, assisting with the organization of inventory between the courthouse and F Street, helping load surplus assets for recycling and other general duties as they present themselves. He will not be expected to interface with end users in a technical fashion or take help desk calls. He may assist technicians with computer deployments as an extra set of hands, but the technician will take the lead on that. So I didn't want anyone to think that he's in over his head or being expected to do things that are beyond his scope.
It's a nice little kicker.
Yeah. And then last week I sent out the first of the records retention email purge.
That got a lot of attention too. I forwarded that email I forwarded to you.
I expect the rest of them to be at least as humorous as the last.
Every county administrator wanted a copy of that. They're like, can you send that to me, Tom? I'm like, you bet. There you go. Yeah, Benton County was like, you've got to be kidding me.
I'm going to repeat that date until it is burned into everyone's soul. I don't want anyone to think that they didn't get told that it was June 9th, 2025. So just wanted to throw that out there.
That was awesome. Yeah. Grant County had plenty to talk about.
Hey, if people are laughing about it, they'll remember it, and they're going to get several more of those leading up to June 9th, 2025.
Again, we're living up to our motto. People walk away, they're like, how come we're not doing it like that?
Yeah. So, and I'm going to kick it over to John. He's got some email stuff for you.
All right.
Gathering statistics from the email system and the internet filter system. The internet, it surprised me when I dug into it, that it turns out there are 23, this week was 24 million individual requests for web addresses from our filter system, which is, wow, big number.
Advertising.
Of that total, only 1,200 were blocked, which is also amazing to me that that number is so low. I would have expected the percentage to be much higher, but, and it's sort of the same thing it said to me last week is just reinforced, and that's that our users are actually doing their work instead of screwing around. If they were going to entertainment sites or trying to access inappropriate content, that blocked number would be much higher. And other good news is only 18 of the requests were blocked for security related reasons. So that would typically be if people got a phishing email and tried to follow the link and it was going to a dodgy site in Malaysia or something like that. That number being so low is a good sign that people are paying attention to what security training they've been given and not doing fishy things with their email and such. And then coming around to email in general, 46,000 total messages in the past week. And of those, 5,000 were blocked or quarantined. That number is surprisingly low to me. I thought we were blocking more of our email, but those were includes emails that were blocked just because they were obviously spam, and the emails that were questionable that were slipped into people's quarantines. Barracuda is doing its job. It's being the big shield on the outside, protecting us from the vast majority of the junk.
I can tell you it does not like Tyco Industrial emails. Sends it to quarantine every time.
It doesn't like my email either.
And on one final note, Ferry County no longer has an IT department. They have contracted with Stevens County. So Stevens County is now providing all IT services for Ferry, and they are installing their Albert sensor this week. So now there are only two of us that are the firewall for Washington State, us and Lincoln. So
I like to be unique.
Doing security differently isn't a bug, it's a feature.
Yep. So, you guys got any questions?
Well, all my new words, porn bomb and scan snap.
Porn bomb's fun.
Yeah.
Well, as a word.
Careful, John.
My only hope was that it was quality, but you never know, so.
Right.
So when this happened over in Superior Court, did it just hit the judge's screen or?
I think it was displayed for all to see.
Who could see.
And the participants that were attached as well, I
It
believe.
was quite the deal at Clallam County.
Yeah.
They provided
I
details
didn't
there.
know. You learn something every day. Gotta be careful.
Well, this isn't the first time it happened. When we had WebEx, Judge Nodell got hit 2 or 3 times in one court session. And
Yeah.
he was like, what's going on? And then they were like scrambling to shut stuff off. And so, yeah.
Anything else?
Be vigilant.
Nope, that's it.
All right, we'll go into recess. I guess we won't go into recess. We'll just transfer over.
Okay.
It's 10:30.
I excused myself from this meeting.
Are we done?
Yeah. Oh, good, thanks.
There's a lot of people here for a commissioner work session. What are we working on today?
We're in trouble.
That was my thought as well.
I got that stuff.
I can go.
Get all the clarities.
Just kidding.
We will get all the clarities.
Hello. I like your pink hair.
Anywhere you want.
New?
Ish.
Yeah. Because I never see you.
I know, yeah.
I like your hair too, though. I want you to look out.
Clippers, just knock it down.
Are there any topics for today for the work session that
Looks
people
like-
are wanting to have?
Mailroom full-time duties.
The other, I don't know. The reason that I'm here, I think that most of us are here, is the mailroom going full-time. In the office, we just need to know where in our budget that is coming from. The last we heard, it was originally gonna be maybe split billed between us and TS, and then it was full billed to us, but maybe we'd be billing TS, and then it was full billed to us, and we just don't know.
So in 325, the board shared that it would be coming out of their budget.
Okay.
We had some back and forth between that. Tom reviewed his budget. He did not have the line item that he initially thought he had in it to pay for the position. I brought it back to the board. Cindy had also talked to Tom, and then it was when the position was approved to go full-time. I asked if the board agreed to have it come out of the budget, and the board agreed.
So we just need to know where in our budget that's coming from, because we don't have extra funds for it in our current budget for this year.
We could take from the 105,
What is a 105 budget?
the 1.1
The
million,
training and
the
Oh, the
employee
training.
growth and
Oh,
To
okay,
development
because that's
fund.
where we kind of put some additional.
so we have unallocated about 500,000 that hasn't yet been set to be anywhere, and we could supplement.
Just transfer it in from that account.
And
Sounds
so-
like he is getting some training.
Because we did,
Yes.
yeah, and I think Tom had an intern, he thought he had an intern.
Right.
Well, I was
Yeah,
surprised.
that was
Nobody
lost.
told us that they, yeah, no, you know, I mean, in our budgets, that line item was still there, so I was surprised to see that it was arbitrarily removed, which had nothing to do with you. It was your
I
predecessor.
did it out of spite.
No, no.
So, and we had a
It was
lot of
not you.
discussion as to, you know, 75% or whatever it was,
Yeah.
80% employee and then 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, with lack of funding, in the TS
Take it from
budget.
Daryl's budget.
There you go.
Please, I know. I don't want to.
And that's where, I guess it's not clear, because he is, you know, this position is working in.
Right.
I mean, it would be great if we could actually put it the way it's supposed to be, you know, but.
Well, and originally, when it was a full-time position, that position would often be farmed out to other departments. You know,
The
whenever,
job description indicates that it can be used in be placed in other departments for special projects.
It's been
So
on, yeah.
we may just need to do we'll have to do a budget extension. Funds from the 105 account. Would you recommend doing it now or wait till later in the year?
As far as the transfer, we could do it
Or we
anytime.
do we need to do a budget extension?
Not yet.
Okay.
We would wait and see how the other departments do. Maybe there'll be some offset savings somewhere else. Probably not, but you never know. But we can transfer the money in. Probably want to wait until we get that finalized, because we still are waiting, because we didn't actually transfer the money out yet because of Daryl's concerns. So it's still technically in current expense at the moment.
Okay.
So before we transfer out money that hasn't even been
Oh,
transferred, yeah. So we'd probably wait on that, but there's definitely plenty there. We just make sure that we mark that we've set aside however much you need.
Okay, I'll have to figure out what his new, or I guess what his full-time amount will be.
Okay. That one's just gonna put it in. Sorry trying to make this so confusing, but it's all working.
I mean, if it came down to it, we're like, yeah, we'll figure out where to get some money, and that wasn't
no spring, we'll keep moving.
yeah, it's just, just,
I think it'll be a win-win. Just gotta,
Yeah.
a little devil in the details.
yeah, we're happy to have help. I
Pretty
mean,
much.
it's
I
definitely
think
so.
it's gonna work out just great.
Is mailroom considered an internal service anywhere else? Like to where there's shared costs to support it across the other departments? I mean, because everyone benefits.
Well, they get charged postage.
Pay for their own postage, but that's it, not for the actual work.
The
part of it.
labor.
Correct.
There may have been at one time, and it was probably just to simplify it, and
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the simplicity of it, but I mean, when times are tough.
Okay, so we will eventually do a transfer from the 105. Cool.
Yeah, we know how much, I'm sure.
Awesome.
That's all I needed.
Don't worry about
Glad we could help.
Yeah. Glad we got that.
easy, yeah.
Yeah. That come from somebody. That's it.
Thank
you.
That's it.
Alright.
That was all.
Sure.
do either of you have any
Yeah.
topics that you want to discuss?
All right, cool.
I don't think so. Thank you for joining us.
Talk about their tropical vacations.
No.
See ya.
Back to title.
Barb, is WCRG at 3 o'clock now?
Yes.
Yes, yes, sir, and the calendar should reflect that.
Okay, we will go into recess then until 1 p.m. when we are back for HR update. Good afternoon. It is 1 p.m. and we are here for an HR update.
Hello.
I'm going to begin with a public comment for our HR meeting agenda. We have one call-in user.
Okay, call-in user, Cami, I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself. Cami, do you have any public comment today? Okay, that's no.
All right. Thank you, Barb.
Thank you. First item, labor relations. I have an MOU for the board to review and hopefully sign. This MOU MOA, Memorandum of Agreement, is between the county and Teamsters. This includes reclassifying all assessment specialists, initial service specialists, therapists, therapist-wise programs, therapist interns, therapists to community crisis responders, and youth mobile crisis responders from exempt to non-exempt. You're currently at a band 14. Teamsters Union and HR, we have been bargaining this to move them now rather than waiting until next year and at the last minute having to do it anyways because of the state minimum wage rules. Do you have any questions, concerns?
Thank you.
Okay. It does include retroactivity from January 1 of 25 if there are any overtime hours. I don't know that there are. So we'll be investigating that further. Okay. Next item, asking for an executive session. This is also under labor relations.
How long?
What do you think, Gina? 10? Or
We're
standard
going
10?
to go into executive session for 10 minutes, beginning at 1:03 p.m., coming out at 1:13 p.m. for negotiations, RCW 42.30.1404A.
Five
Would you
different
like
levels.
to extend, or are you good?
I think we're good.
It is 1:13 and we are out of executive session.
Okay. Item 2, I don't have anything for you today. Item 3 on the agenda, just a quick follow up. There has not been a decision made at this point. A final meeting, predetermination meeting was held, but we're waiting to hear back from the elected decision. Item 4, position management. Yesterday, Central Services came and talked about the site supervisor for the jail. Did the board have any questions? Need clarification on that position?
Yeah, so calling it the jail site supervisor, we don't currently have one of those, right?
Right.
Correct.
So it's just creating of a new position.
It's a new FTE, correct.
Okay. And then the current one will be removed or restructured?
The current position will be held at the sheriff's office under their budget until PERC comes back with a decision for the unit clarification, which they look at the totality of the positions in that job family and determine whether or not they should be all under one contract or if they're fine under separate contracts. So this will be a new FTE. The person in that role has been encouraged to apply
Yeah, I know that
if
part.
he is interested.
Yeah, I was just curious about the position,
Yeah.
that if he did apply and get it, if that position goes away.
Um,
Because ideally, facilities family would stay as
Facilities.
not just have random people.
Yes, and that is a conversation that Gene, as a consultant, will have with the sheriff if he is wanting to backfill that position right away or wait until the perk hearing this summer is complete and we move forward after that, so.
Are you looking for a yes?
I am looking for a
I am
yes
a
or
yes.
no
I am a yes.
for the position. Okay, 2 yeses. Rob?
Yep.
3 yeses, thank you. Okay, compensation study, I believe that is on your agenda today.
Yes,
Do you have any questions or need any clarification about that before 2? Okay. Currently, we are recruiting for 28 different positions, so HR is busy and our software is working well. So just wanted to give you that update.
Do we have that many openings on the county? Gina's like, oh, heck yes.
Yes, we do. We do. Number 7, benefits. Looking for the guidance from the commissioners. We had, end of last year, Shane and his peer came and chatted with the board about wanting to provide services for the counties for medical insurance as a broker. And Hub, so we went to market. They are going to do a presentation. Hub will be doing a presentation. Would you like to have the participate in a presentation, have them come to speak to you, or just to the Health and Wellness Committee and get their recommendation?
I would like to be part of it,
Okay.
too.
Couldn't we be in the same presentation?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Sure.
Okay.
It's a big dollar amount.
Okay. And same with voluntary insurances. Interested in that as well. If they want to come do presentations, AFLAC, I know that.
I'm not so much worried about the Apple, the minor ones, but I am
The major?
definitely
Okay.
worried the large.
Okay, so I will keep you posted on when those presentations will take place. Number 8 is just under other. I've added that category. Sorry, Barb. I might want to add that. I sometimes have other topics that don't fit nicely in the agenda, so thought I'd add that on there. Draft notice will be going out for the policy work group in order to bring on Lexa Poll, as we talked about last week. So, and then once the comp study agreement is signed, we'll get a notice sent out to department heads and electeds about that one as well, and to get volunteers or nominations for people to participate in that. And that's what I have for you today.
That was quick. Any questions for HR?
Dan said he's working on, he got the comparables back for the county administrator, so yep, look at that. But I mean, if I say that, and then he's pretty quick about getting things, it's probably already in my email now.
If not, we'll have it to you next week. No, he's been pretty swamped, so.
Okay.
And just FYI, we got an email from Barb, the wellness portal is up and running, so we start working on our 2025.
Yes.
Are you aware of that? So when you go to the doctor, or I don't, there's a couple things, the smoking cessation.
Yep, there are
stopping
five
of smoking.
categories, and I think you have to meet four out of the 5. And then you get a wellness bonus at the end of the year if you've completed so many tasks, like getting your cholesterol checked, annual blood work, going to the dentist, eye doctor, your wellness survey.
Do you know how many that completed it in 2025?
I completed it and forgot to submit it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you failed.
We probably have between 20 and 30,000.
That is essentially
I'll have to
failing.
look. I don't know. I didn't
It's kind of
hear
our
a total
benchmark
in
is
at
why
HWC.
We do it so they can kind of see the health of our county, and so.
It's good that you get your eyes checked and your physicals and.
I usually get my eyes checked when I get a piece of metal in them.
It's usually a good time.
Yeah, I don't know the last time I got my eyes checked. I think that's what's
You'll
wrong
start
with me.
getting a little more vigilant as the older you get. You're like, why am I not going on with
Or
my
that's
eyes?
too close. It's gonna be
The
farther.
books are getting farther and farther, just squinting more. You know, let me just look at my little things. I have, I think this for HR, yes. Youth services. I have excessive personnel files. What? Trying to think, let me look at my notes from Swahil. What did Swahil? Do you guys recall? Or what was just yesterday?
She asked for something?
I have a little note.
Let me look.
Oh, oh, no. No, a different one. Okay, district court. They brought up yesterday in our meeting that they are, I know there was when.
Trying to work on a contract with you guys for managing personnel files.
Correct.
Because before, they used to have them in the Barb Smith days. They had them in district court and they moved down. And then I'm not quite sure with the transition, but they brought it up. Because they're working with you because we had very little knowledge of kind of this whole thing was playing out.
Yeah, so
we are
in the last, not this current contract or the last contract?
This current.
They have GR 29, which gives the court authority to manage their labor agreement along with all personnel matters. And so the district court really wanted to make that known in the labor agreement. So that labor agreement, even though the board signs it, it is between district court and the union. We will still bargain, but as far as the management of the employees, they have wanted that responsibility, took that responsibility. Sometimes that responsibility isn't comfortable. Sometimes that responsibility isn't nice to have to do, and then it gets shifted to HR. So we really want to sit down, have the conversation with them of what are you doing versus what are we doing, so there isn't that confusion. As far as managing personnel files after an employee is gone, they have the same retention schedule that we have, and they own their personnel records. They should be responsible for their personnel records and retention. They've also gone to a electronic personnel record. We don't have that in HR yet, so it doesn't make sense for them to print out their personnel record to give them to HR to store, so we get rid of them. They can set it up with Laserfiche to follow the retention schedule. So we just really want to have that dialogue with them. And what is your responsibility? What is our responsibility? So we don't have any headbutting, any concerns that come up, that we can have reasonable conversations about it.
Okay, and I did recommend that they reach out to Franklin County and Chelan County, because it was GR 25, that they're kind of, and like I said, I don't know a whole lot about the holding of the employee files, so.
Yeah.
Kind of see what others are doing since they're running off the same county
Yeah.
office.
We have
running
a
off the
copy
same-
of GR 29.
Or
We can
29,
send, yeah,
okay.
we can send it to you.
Okay, well, I did kind of briefly read it, and sometimes it's the interpretation. Okay,
And they interpret it very strong on their behalf. So in order to avoid conflict, I figured that this is the best way to do it, is to come up with an agreement between their department and ours to be able to make things clear.
I just want to add that initially it was just going to be the presiding judge and Decorah and myself. Presiding judge, Judge Gwynn, requested the BOCC be in attendance as well. Instead of involving all three, we reached out to their person on the board, which is Kevin. We weren't able to agree on.
Kevin was gone, yes. Okay, well, during the last update.
I was told I got the short end of the stick.
Well, I
I
just
don't
didn't
even think
want
there was
us,
a stick
this
involved.
Yeah.
happening with district court and then not communicating with HR, just trying
Yeah.
to keep everybody so we were
Yeah.
aware of something, not
Yeah.
quite sure.
Yeah, and so that was the inception of this whole thing. Initially, it was just gonna be between the two groups, and then
Yeah.
it was decided to be more inclusive, which is great. We had reached out to Kevin. Schedules didn't align, so we were looking at scheduling sometime in the future. If the whole board wants to participate, I think we'd be open to that.
No, I think.
Like this
I'm
morning's
okay
group,
with Kevin.
the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Bring everybody on.
No, I think it's,
Yeah.
but I know with that interpretation, there has been kind of the pulling of the files and they were stored up at district court, so it's not something that hasn't been done, it just hasn't been done for a while, and I think.
Sure. We just don't want anything to turn adversarial. We want to make sure
And I
that,
don't think it was, I
Yeah.
think they were just explaining the contract and we were a little clueless. as to
Yeah.
what was going on, so.
okay.
And
And
Kevin
then-
wasn't here during that meeting.
Pardon me?
Kevin wasn't here during that meeting.
I don't think so. No, it was just our update. It was just
Were you here?
more of a, no, this Kevin, I thought you meant Kevin Craig.
Oh, no.
No, our Kevin left early yesterday, so he's probably going, what the heck are you guys talking
Yeah.
about?
Cause
Oh,
he was
now
aware
I
of
get
it.
I left early, so then it got put on me.
No, they
Well,
said
it got
you
put
were
on
the
you
one.
because
Not
you're
you,
over the
I didn't sit in
office.
it.
You
But
are
they're
our
trying to explain that
go-between.
they have had all their personnel files up there before because of that
They've had them as long as I've been here.
general rule, and then I think trying to incorporate it. I can't even remember which HR director said, we really need to have the files. But
Yes.
different
When,
judges.
when this topic came up in bargaining, there was a conversation between our labor attorney, Tony, and presiding judge at the time was Judge.
Whitemer Mober.
No. Oh my gosh. His name will come to me.
Is it
Was it
a judge right now?
Yes,
Judge-
Barlow,
Okay.
Judge Barlow, about what it means to have an employee record, to have employee files. And really, the best practice is for a third party to have employee files so that there isn't a presumption that, oh, you have access to my medical file, so you're discriminating against me. You know I have Parkinson's disease. That's why you're declining my time off requests. And so it just keeps that separation. It's a best practice. It's not something that has to be done that way. It's just that's what the best practices. So they understood what it meant to go into to have that written in a contract. They signed up for it. So all those conversations have been had with district court. Like Decorah said, it's just a matter of deciding who's doing what, making sure we know what each other's responsibilities are so that we're not doing double work or things aren't falling through the cracks.
Okay, I am deciphering what my note meant. Has Swahil gotten a hold of you to work with you?
We are currently working on a project with her, yes.
Okay, that was it. Okay, and I don't think when she presented to us, she had met with HR.
Yeah, I think she was going right after our meeting.
Just kind of a heads up, so, okay.
Yep.
Look, everything's circling around.
Yes.
We're communicating with
We
those
are.
we need to be communicating.
These are
with.
great. Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Okay,
That's it.
we'll get back to Tyler.
Have fun.
We'll go on recess until 2 p.m. We are back with our weekly meeting. Good afternoon. It is 2 p.m. And and we will start our weekly commissioners meeting. I will call the meeting to order and begin with an open forum for public input, 3 minutes per person, 15-minute time limit. Jerome, do you have any public comment?
I don't think so this week, no.
Okay, Barb, we have 2 call-in users on today.
We do. We have guest with a phone number ending in 0130. I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself. Guest, call-in user 0130. Do you have public comment today? Okay. No. And then we have Cami. Cami, I'm going to allow your ability to talk. Cami, do you have public comment today?
All right, entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Agenda is approved. Do we have any emails, letters of support, or response?
I do have one. I believe I copied the full board in it. And Cindy, this was primarily for you, but it's regarding the GUNPO delegation. The Port of Moses Lake sent an email asking if the county was supplying, if they'll cover the cost of transportation, expenses related to the visit, and food.
Are they coming over? Did you
That's-
forward that to me? I've not seen it.
Sounded like.
Last week, I think.
I think it was,
Okay, just a minute.
sorry, I forwarded it Monday because I got it last week, but it went to my spam filter
Yeah, just a minute yesterday. I haven't seen it.
yesterday at 3:12 p.m.
Victor?
Yes, email from Victor.
Oh, Chris, okay. So they're basically asking us to host. So they must have reached out to the port, but they needed probably a formal, before I agree to anything, I'm going to reach out to the Port of Moses Lake and ask them if they're going to take care of everything or, 'cause
That email was from the port.
yes. But typically when they, I want to just make sure before, I think we should look. I'll reach out to Richard. Because we have to invite them. We have to extend a formal invitation. I just want to know what all Grant County has to do before I commit Grant County to a, if that's okay with, unless Rob or Kevin, you have.
I just don't know anything about it. So in that message, I just see the one from this Christopher. Can you confirm Grant County will cover GUNPO's in-state transportation, food costs, costs related to site access? And then Richard Hanover sends to Barb to see the below question, and then that's all.
Because we don't have a budget for hosting.
No.
So the last time we had Kamalaki City or Toyama, I had to reach out to different groups, like the chamber, to host a lunch, or hosted a dinner. Let me read this really thoroughly.
We want to go to the rodeo.
Yeah, because we don't have a budget for transportation, food. We would have transportation with our vehicle. And we could do fair. So we want to go to the fair and rodeo. I'm gonna delve into getting a little more information on that. Our Azalea Festival's the end of this month. in Google.
Any other correspondence?
Not for me, no.
I had some yesterday. Okay, animal outreach, they have located a piece of land and they are in engineering. So coming soon, they'll start requesting the money
Good.
Where's
I'm
this
glad
piece
to-
of land at?
on Randolph Road.
Did you see there's a meeting next week of all the organizations?
Yeah, that's what Sarah told me. What day is that on?
Tuesday.
Yeah,
That's it.
bad day.
Cindy and Kendall.
Be here in spirit.
Payback.
But we still have the $1 million for ARPA. We just put it under the Grant County.
Well, we put it under our direction
Okay.
and never moved it back out. So we can still do the
Okay,
directed
but we did
spending.
have. Okay. Chunk of change.
Any others? I don't think I had any others.
So I just, the Manawa,
It's on for next week.
next week's, okay.
This week is the ELI.1 support.
Thank you for keeping track of all those. And a shout out to Barb for sending a letter out, just FYI to everybody, for the Wellness Hub is available for all the employees to submit their.
And for reminding us 5 times to wear royal blue. Any other items? No? Okay, we'll move on to roundtable. Do you have any roundtable topics, any walk-ons? Hearing none. Staff, anything for roundtable? Tom, Decorah? Okay.
Actually, yes, one thing. I did hear back from the city of Moses Lake. They're looking at the morning of the 24th for the pre-application meeting. I'm waiting to hear back to see if they're gonna actually send a time.
Okay, I'll make sure I can make it for that one. I don't know if this is an appropriate time, but I believe I have, one of the Franklin County Commissioners is gonna ask for us to send a letter to state about pullouts on Highway 17 and for them to make Highway 17 more safe. He sent me a big long text. I haven't got to talk to him, but I'm guessing he's asking for us to support them for that.
All right. Any other topics, items?
No.
We do have WCRG at 3 p.m. Okay. Well, then, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda items 1 through 25.
I will second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Consent agenda has been approved. No walk-on items. Okay. Thanks, Tom, for no walk-on items.
It was only the past couple weeks. It's not all the time. I try really hard.
Without a walk-in.
I was gonna say, I think that's the first time.
Have we heard from Caitlin? How is she doing?
She's doing great. She's able to connect with TS.
Yeah.
She's in Vegas. We haven't
Yeah.
heard from her.
I'm doing great. I was in Vegas.
Yeah.
She's doing great.
I wouldn't be. Not a big Vegas, sir. I've had fun there, but
That's good moments of my life.
shame. Catch.
I could arrange that.
Look at that, accounts payable here.
You want me to get your garden going?
Yes, I did. I have potatoes
Tyco
coming up.
contract.
What'd you say? Robin just said something.
Said I have my potatoes are coming up now, Purple Majesty and Red Thumb.
Purple Majesty's a potato.
Yeah, it's a variety.
Purple potato. Is it a purple one?
Yeah,
I'm assuming?
purple.
Sounds pretty good. I like colored potatoes.
Only 3 varieties this year, Purple Majesty, Purple Fiesta, and Red Thumb. Wings,
Are the purple ones like the finger looking ones or are they big?
well, the
Okay,
big one
so
would be
they are
about like
a-
that, you know.
With the thin skin, right?
You probably never did.
Yeah.
I think North Dakota skin. There's no kind of-
Give it the old college
No,
try.
North Dakota. Yukon has a thin skin.
I guess.
Yeah.
You probably could after about quarter mile.
Carrots are coming up now.
I have nothing. I'll go buy some
I hadn't
tomato
thought about a
plants.
garden.
I'll get some tomato plants and stick them out on it.
It'd be cool to have a garden.
Not allowed to actually, because one time I threw it out in the field and they had to unhook, the employees unhooked the tractor and the disc and everything, to go around it, and it took 3 or 4 hours, it's like, you are never putting a garden in my field. And I did take care of it, so it wasn't like they could run it over. It was free water, it's
Too much work.
free water and free ground, I'm like, oh, I'll throw it out there.
Not that bad, to take care of.
I'm going to keep the weeds out of my rocks.
It's not
around
bad.
the
You
house.
have time to stay on top of it.
Mowing around.
My problem is I can't stay on top.
When you get everything going good, and then you use the magic of pharmaceuticals for weeds and you put preen down, to take care of everything for you.
Use what?
Use preen.
What's that?
It's a herbicide that only attacks sprouting seeds. So if you have it cleaned out one time, you put down preen, water it, and no seeds, nothing else sprouts for the season.
I need some of that in my rocks.
Might have to try that.
And you get it at like Basin Feed or?
You can get it anywhere. It's, yeah. Get it at Costco, North 40.
Kind of like a Roundup, I think it's PRE.
EEN, PREEN. It's in a yellow box with a red lid. It's a granular.
And it works, huh?
Yeah, it works great. Just have to make sure that it's, it only works for certain plants, like woody perennials, and it won't, in theory, it doesn't kill anything that's growing healthy already.
Well, that would be the weeds.
Well, you get,
You have to do it right in the beginning. Okay. Need a truckload of preen. Kind of a Roundup. Show you what I got going on. Roundup, 2,4-D.
Yeah, you guys can probably get the good stuff. guys probably have an applicator's license.
That's good. I really shouldn't be using my yard, because I should more things I should be doing.
Rick Char said he'll catch you tomorrow because he's got to go into another meeting. So hope you're gonna be here tomorrow.
So good luck catching up.
Are you here Thursday, Friday? All of a sudden I can't remember.
Thursday, I have the GTA.
Oh, that's an all day.
10.
That is all day. They usually don't have a meeting that night.
It's from like 10 to 3 because they're combining the retreat and all that.
Is that a tour?
And actually, I can come over in the morning. I'll drop my daughter off at school, so I can get it in
On Thursday?
Thursday morning.
Okay.
Oops, I put three keys there. This whole travel thing is pretty interesting, where you look at the eyes, something with the eye therapy, how their eyes are moving around and.
I guess I should go sign them now.
Before someone comes after you.
Or I chase down. I'm pretty with it in a red shirt.
I'm glad it's supposed to cool down tomorrow because it's hot in here. Or is it just me?
I thought the one is
I wish I was in shorts and all that. It's hot. If I was outside, it'd be fine, but right now I'm roasting.
My strawberries like it because they're starting to bloom. I had 12 blooms this morning.
Okay, it is 2:20 PM and we will go into recess until 3 PM. We are back for WCRG update. Good afternoon, it's 3 PM. We're here for a insurance WCRG update. Hello, Shane Heston.
Hello, good afternoon. Usually I'm in the morning, so thanks for being flexible. I'm normally here at 11, but I had interviews up in Wilson Creek. I was doing student interviews, you know, kind of what you did in Wells City that one time.
Oh, fun.
I got invited to Wilson Creek to do that, so that was kind of fun to help them with that. So, well, I'm going to give an update, and Blair's got some updated data. I get these once a month, but Blair gets more into the detail. Blair has a little more of the detail of what's going on at the real-time stuff, where I just get it once a month. So what we're handing out right now is the current policy year claims data. And knock on wood, 5 months into this policy year, 40% down, we're only 11 claims. That's pretty good. Again, I expect that to develop over the years. But 11 claims. 107,000 today reserved and paid. You'll notice on there, as Blair and I were talking, we're getting more accident data on there, such as the location. We're getting, of course, the adjuster's always been on there, or we just added that. We don't have enough to put it in the field, but ideally, the more data we get, the better we can do to maybe do some prediction and some trendings on that. I'll give you a moment to take a peek at that. The most recent one we filed was the other vehicle hit the fence at the Grant County Fairgrounds. We subrogated, found out the other person does not have insurance.
Oh, they don't?
No, they had a progressive policy that came back as not current. So policy number wasn't good.
I talked to Steve Whetstone. They're currently working to see if they have a different policy or if it's been picked up by someone else. So he's currently working on that right now as we speak. So
that'd be good. But you know, we joked last month about that fairgrounds fence being hit how many times? You know,
Twice a year.
Twice, 3 times.
I'd rather have a fence hit than a person hit. So.
Indeed, that's true.
And on this list, claim number 1721 was dismissed. So
good, the civil rights claim.
Civil rights claim was dismissed.
You can see even just the claim that goes litigation, even with dismissal, you know, the cost just to litigate it. I mean, it's thousands of dollars there. So the process is expensive anytime it goes to litigation.
But on that fence at the fairgrounds, they're still liable for that.
Oh, absolutely.
Damage, whether or not they have insurance.
They'll seek what's called financial responsibility on that, and you know they'll have to pay $5 a month or whatever if that's all they can afford. But they will get recovery on it.
Totally.
Yeah. So I think we'll hand out the next report here. This is all open claims.
Thank you.
So this is all policy years, all open claims. Today, you can see, you know, the trailing tab is 3.3 million at 35 claims. It's broken down by claims year, going back clear to 2017. The very top one is one that's, you know, I'm not sure where that's going to go, but you can see that's approaching almost $750,000 for that one. And then, of course, we have the recent inmate death, the Richard Lambert too. So that's on the back side of that page. Blair reported that claim number 1450, which is in the policy year 2022, that one has been closed. And that was an insured vehicle. We hit another vehicle. Is what it looked like at an intersection. So settled that one. We were also talking to one right below that. That's happened over at Beef Northwest off of Adams and Road 9.
Sorry, we're allergic to.
I'm sorry.
There is something coming in the air.
There definitely is.
I was fine until.
This is where they're alleging that we're not following the protocol of putting up warning signs for a truck crossing. Well, video shows that clearly the person that hit the rear end of this beef truck didn't slow down nearly in time, hit the brakes way too late. So the fact that there wasn't a sign there is just an argument. Really, Beef Northwest is the one who they're going after. They rear-ended, they pulled out. Sounds like they pulled out from them, so. Again, you know, those dairies and feedlots, they do get a little messy and stuff, and I do know they work on keeping the roads clean, but sometimes it's a little messy out there. Is there questions on the all open claims from any of the commissioners today? This is a point in time where I would ask, at some point, would you like to schedule an executive session again to go over, you know, the litigated claims? There's a handful of them on here. And then, of course, you know, the one for policy year 2020-21 that we're watching, to those three. Kevin, you have not had a executive session to talk with our attorneys and defense panel on that. Is that something, it takes about a month to schedule. Is that something we want to schedule here in the next 45 days or so?
Has there been any
There's been no development really with anything, Blair. Is there anything?
So you could probably just meet with Kevin directly, or
Yeah.
Blair, you're up to date.
Yeah, I just talked to every single claims adjuster, so I have notes on everything, all the claims and stuff like that, so I can sit down with Kevin and talk
But
to
I'm
him on
not,
that.
you know,
Yeah.
Unless you guys want to do something like that, so
I
you
got a
guys could all be
question
up
on
to
this-
date.
this, Ola Jide,
which?
Oh, Fletcher,
the civil rights one.
that's been dismissed with prejudice. It'll be closed as long as there's nothing been filed in the next 60 days.
So did we actually pay him $7,600?
No, that's what it would have cost.
Yeah, it's what it would have cost, but it was dismissed, so it's just gonna be the defense cost.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that, because I was hoping that we didn't have to pay them, not had anything.
And then you'll see the bottom half of that page, those constitutional rights, those are the ones we got from the jailhouse attorneys. I joke, jailhouse attorneys, you know, they all write the same, complain on handwritten stuff. There's 8 of them. They're gonna probably close in the next,
Yeah, it's gonna be the next couple months. If we don't hear anything, those will all be closing too.
Okay.
So we're just waiting to hear on those, but those will be closing hopefully pretty soon too,
so it's just taking up a lot of real estate. So we clear those up and a few of these others, you know, there's almost 10 claims off of the 35 claims. And I would imagine, you know, as things wind down, we're gonna have some litigation that's gonna go on for probably a couple of years on some of these. It's just.
Hey, Blair's working on getting these cleaned up.
trying.
But no, and we could meet with the attorneys, but sometimes, unless there's movement on it, there really isn't.
There's not a lot.
To meet.
The last big report was, you know, the Carly Gray thing. You know, we came out of that one actually with some real good takeaways. Number one, you know, the word shall and should, you know, in the county ordinance, because, you know, we copied the county code from another county and,
Right.
you know, that one word shall, should,
Mhm.
you know, hurt us on that one. That's what they're hanging their hat on. Though there's an offer to settle that claim. We don't know if it's going to settle. I don't think anybody's online.
No, but we record it, so
Okay.
it's on YouTube for a while.
Oh, got
I
it.
mean, forever.
Got it, yeah. So we're not saying anything that's privileged right now anyway, so. Commissioners, any questions on all open claims? Okay, the next one is going to be
The 2020,
the
2021.
2021, and as Blair's passing those out, I'm getting you an excess quote of additional insurance over the 15 million excess. I thought I'd have it by now. It's not as easy as it looks, but we should have something probably in the next month or so. I was going to, as soon as I have that, I'll bring that to you, because that's an important matter for you guys to consider. And it's going to broaden our defense costs of another 10 million. Gives us 25 million in damages or liability coverage and law enforcement liability and everything. So that's an important thing. So if you look at here, everything's closed except for 3 claims. The Ross, the Ramos, and then the Gray claim. Of course, the Ramos claim is the one that went off the roadway out there by Moses Lake. The Ross claim has happened down at the gorge. Again, we're named in it based on a building permit. It was, you know, an irrigation drought, basically reservoir pond drowning. So it was not designated for swimming, or sorry, it's designated for swimming by them, but, you know, we don't enforce, you know, local rules and stuff, you know. So it's gonna be interesting to see where that one goes. We don't know where that one's gonna end up at this point. So they are showing a close date on that one. Do you see that one, Blair?
Which one?
On the Ross claim,
Oh, yeah.
325, they're showing a close date. It's not, so what had happened, we got the initial response, we filed it, we closed the claim, and then they came back and filed a lawsuit. Of course, the gorge down there, they've settled, or the, whatever it's called, KV, they've already settled, they've not.
Quite a large settlement too.
Yeah, was it public on that, or?
I just heard of it. I haven't.
I heard it was a significant amount.
Yeah, I don't know if there was a dollar amount, but.
Yeah.
Which.
Then the dog bite claim, that one's ongoing as well, so. That's what we have for the updates today on the claims. Any questions? Knock on wood again, but we're having a great year. I don't want to ruin that by saying, hey, we're having a great year, but we are having a great year. And as we develop more data and get more items to be able to predict trends, this is where Blair's risk management skills will come in to help identify maybe, hey, this is the time of area, or this is the you know, an area to watch for. Maybe we can put in some preventative measures. To me, as a risk manager, that gets me really excited. And as you, as elected officials of stewards of funds, you know, any dollars we save, I mean, that's dollar earned. And I think that's really good on all accounts. Controlling cost of insurance, keeping the money at the local level, and continuing expanding risk management opportunities and safety prevention. Public Works has been quiet. We've made a whole bunch of changes, just, you know, not a whole bunch, just the common stuff. You know, vehicles coming and going, surplusing and stuff. Blair gets copied on all that. The communication's going pretty well. We've got Blair in the loop with all of our claims people and our service team. So we've got a pretty good sized team behind Grant County here supporting you. So not just locally, but, you know, behind the Clay Risk office too. That's all I have.
So I was told to ask you a question,
Okay.
but the jail is looking at the monitors. They're like, somehow it monitors their heart rates in the room.
Oh, okay, biometrics.
Tom said that on the west side, the insurance group there is providing that to the jails that they represent.
They're paying $1,000.
Oh, are they?
This is the RFID.
Yeah.
It's the ones that sense, they do the breathing, kind of the breathing.
Yeah, they tell if they're breathing and stuff like that. So Clear Risk would do $1,000. That's WCRG would do $1,000, but I don't know what the other pool will do, and that's what we were trying
And
Oh,
to
I
find
thought
out.
that's what they were doing, or maybe I
I
misunderstood.
think Tom said they pay for it.
Really?
They said they'd pay for it, then we looked into it, it was 1,000, but I heard 1,000.
That's what Clear Risk would do, was with 1,000
But maybe
a
just
year.
a follow-up, maybe I just.
So
You could also probably apply for grant funding too. You know, there's that grant money available. You can maybe expand that a little bit too, but. You know,
We can use some of our,
if you count the number of incidents involving that, you know, I think there's 4, maybe 5 of those on there going back to, you know, even before 2012. And it's obviously an issue, especially with, you know, fentanyl being smuggled in just microscopic areas. You don't even know it's there. It's not a bad idea. How does the correction staff feel about that?
I don't know.
I've talked to Phil Coates.
Yeah.
He's for it, and so he wants them. It's just, he has enough for that, but once he gets to the new jail, he won't have enough.
Oh.
well, we're only putting them in,
Like the critical areas?
Yeah, the critical
the
areas.
infirmary and the booking cells.
Yeah.
So would you have that at the new jail? Would that be transferred up there? It's technology. I think.
Yeah, it'll follow, but the
But it's not
infirmary,
every cell.
no, it wouldn't be for all the jails, but for the infirmary and the critical care there, it would get a lot bigger.
I'm guessing it'd probably have to be a single occupant in a cell, right? Because
Yeah.
it's gonna detect multiple
Yeah.
activities, so, okay.
I don't know exactly how it works, but it's, from what I saw, it's pretty impressive.
But the first I heard about it was from WCRG.
Right.
They were talking about it 2 years ago, and I shared it with Joey as soon as
Yes. Well, anything we can. I mean, jail's a high-risk area, and it's one of the more difficult things to place insurance for. That's what we're struggling to get the excess liability for. It's just Washington State and law enforcement is hard to get insurance for. schools are the next hardest thing, so.
Well, I definitely think there's gonna be some grants out there that we could possibly apply for those. So finding those grants and applying for them, I definitely think that's something we should be looking for those.
Good. Good. Speaking of law enforcement, we got the Behind the Badge tournament coming up. You know, bets on, we're gonna beat the Grant County team here. Anybody?
Is it this month or next month?
It's May the 5th, yeah. We're one of the sponsors of that. So are you playing in it, Rob? No,
I don't golf.
you don't go. You have a team though, right? No, okay, I thought you were out there.
Last year we had maintenance.
Okay.
And we had development services, I think, had a team. Maybe they all played together. I don't know what they're doing this year.
Yeah, you golf.
I do, but I can't, I think we have a training that day. You guys put a management training on that day, same as Behind the Badge. It was the department. Yeah,
We're gonna lose.
you're gonna lose a lot of people. Because I thought it was the pizza day or something like that.
It's definitely a well-attended golf event. You know,
Oh, yeah.
It's sold out
Oh,
every year.
elected official department head?
Yeah,
I think I'm scheduled to be at it.
I was gonna be there too until I saw I was supposed to be at the department head meeting.
Well, maybe we could kick our department head luncheon back a week.
There we go.
I mean, I'm not gonna be golfing.
No.
No, I was
I can
just,
barely miniature golf.
I was just gonna be at the Behind the Badge to assist and help out.
Yeah, put out a thing today for volunteers. Well, that's all I have. Thanks for your valuable time. Appreciate it. As I noted, when we have that excess quote, I'll schedule a time to come in and meet with you and present that with you. And in the meantime, Kevin or anybody, if you want to have that private session with, you know, attorneys, we just need to schedule that. That's definitely something we can make happen. It just takes a scheduling.
Even Blair can give you a full rundown on.
Blair's definitely.
Probably,
Yeah,
Probably has more, it'll, yeah.
Yeah. You're in
Blair's a
Florida now,
wealth of
so
information.
paying for yourself already, man. Just, that's great. This is what I foresaw, this whole thing.
So,
All right, well, good afternoon. Thank you again.
All right, thank you.
all right.
We will go into recess at 3:17 for the day.